I want to send you a love that never sets, a postcard full of my heart's regrets. When Wyatt got back to the karaoke room, the party was already in full swing. Being music majors, Chloe and her roommates transformed into Mike Hoggs the second they got a chance. A relentless typhoon of pop songs. Wyatt slid into the booth next to Cece, content to just listen. Even the usually quiet Sophie was getting into it, a wild energy taking over as she belted out a chorus. Leo, looking utterly smitten, was recording the whole thing on his phone with a goofy grin plastered across his face. After the girls had powered through 4 or 5 songs in a row, Ashley finally put the microphone down. "Wyatt, Michael, you guys should sing something too," she said, laughing. Wyatt waved a hand dismissively. "I'm good. Let the man of the hour go first. It's his party, after all." Michael didn't need any convincing. He picked up a mic, strode over to the console, and queued up 2 songs. The first was some obscure, moody track from an indie film, a clear attempt to show off. Michael had spent a few years studying abroad, and while it hadn't made him a great singer, his American accent was flawless. His vocal performance, however, was just okay. The second song was far more interesting. It was a classic, one of the biggest hits from the Backstreet Boys, "I Want It That Way." Wyatt figured Michael had chosen it to send a not-so-subtle message. Before he started, Michael saw the smirk on Wyatt's face and immediately grabbed the other microphone. He walked over, slinging an arm around Wyatt's shoulders. "Don't just sit there," he grinned. "You're singing this with me." Wyatt, to his credit, took the mic without protest. The iconic, melancholic intro began to swell, filling the room with 90s nostalgia. Michael took the first verse. "Yeah, you are my fire, the one desire." After his short solo, he lowered the mic, and Wyatt seamlessly picked it up. "Believe when I say, I want it that way." As the song built towards the explosive chorus, Wyatt abruptly shoved Michael aside, sending him stumbling on the plush carpet. He then wrapped an arm around Cece's waist, pulling her close and swaying dramatically as he sang directly to her. "Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why. I never want to hear you say, I want it that way." By the time he finished his over-the-top performance, Cece's face was beet red. She tried to push him away, but he held her tight, so she eventually gave up, hiding her face in his shoulder. Her roommates erupted in a chorus of oaths, making her even more embarrassed. Watching the shameless display of affection, Michael and Leo were overcome with a burning envy. "Damn it," Leo thought. "When will I get a hold of my girl and sing cheesy love songs to her?" After their duet, both guys put the mics down. Ashley jumped up to pick new songs. A waiter came in twice, delivering trays of drinks, fruit platters, and snacks. Michael, pretending to pass out snacks, saw his chance and sat down next to Isabel. He opened his mouth to say something several times, then lost his nerve. Isabel watched him, thinking, "Dude, just say something. I don't bite. Is it that hard to talk to a girl?" Seeing he was still frozen, Isabel sighed softly. She picked up a glass bottle of Coke from the table and pretended to struggle with the cap. After a dramatic show of looking around for help, she turned to Michael, holding it out meekly. Can you help me open this?" Michael, who had been desperately searching for an opening, practically snatched the bottle from her. He twisted the cap off with a flick of his wrist. Sophie watched the exchange, her eyes wide with disbelief. Normally, whenever someone in the dorm needed a stubborn jar opened or something heavy moved, Isabel was their go-to muscle. To see her suddenly unable to open a simple Coke bottle was an acting performance worthy of an Oscar. "Seriously, sister," Sophie thought, "you're wasting your talent in college. You should be teaching a masterclass on the art of the hustle." "Thanks," Isabel said, taking the bottle back. This was the opening Michael needed. He immediately jumped in. "So, do you guys come out to sing karaoke often?" "Not really. We have to sing so much for our classes that we rarely do it for fun." "Oh, right." Isabel turned the tables. "You seem to come here a lot, though. I saw the staff greeting you like a regular." Michael's heart skipped a beat. Damn, Wyatt was right. But he was a man of the world. He played it cool. "It's for work," he explained smoothly. "I have to entertain clients sometimes, so I bring them here. Personally, I'm more of a homebody." "I see," Isabel said, then pressed on. "So what do you do for fun?" "What's that?" Ashley had started singing again, and the music was loud. Isabel leaned closer to Michael, raising her voice. "I asked what your hobbies are." "Whoa." She's leaning in. She's so close. And she smells amazing. Michael, momentarily flustered, managed to list off a few respectable-sounding hobbies. Movies, reading, swimming, skiing. It was a good thing Wyatt was too far away to hear. If he'd heard Michael claim to enjoy reading, he would have rolled his eyes so hard they'd have gotten stuck. What phony, Wyatt would have thought. "You look in a mirror recently? You don't look like a guy who reads." Michael asked, what about you? What are your hobbies? Traveling, food, and yoga. Where have you traveled? Domestically, I've been to San Francisco, New Orleans, Chicago, Austin, Honolulu. Michael listened, feeling a pang of inadequacy. You've been to more places in the U.S. than I have. How long were you abroad? About 4.5 years. So, which do you like better? The U.S. or being abroad? If Wyatt had asked, Michael would have given a non-committal they're both okay. But for Isabel, he smiled. The U.S. is definitely more fun. Isabel just nodded, not saying anything else. The conversation stalled. Meanwhile, Wyatt and Cece were whispering to each other, and Leo and Sophie were in their own quiet little world. Aside from Ashley, who was still lost in her power ballad, everyone else had paired off. Isabel felt a sense of urgency. At this rate, she'd be single forever. It was time to accelerate the process. Just then, Wyatt happened to glance her way. Isabel caught his eye and gave him a tiny, wicked smile. It was a look that said, "Watch and learn, Wyatt. The master is about to work her magic." Isabel stood up, pretending to head for the restroom. The table was in her way, forcing her to walk directly in front of Michael. He had already tucked his feet in to give her space, but as she stood, Isabel's ankle suddenly twisted. With a small yelp, she lost her balance and tumbled directly onto him. In the chaos, the bottle of Coke she was still holding went flying, drenching the front of Michael's shirt as she crashed down on top of him, pinning him to the sofa. Wyatt stared for a half-second, then quickly ducked his head, fighting to suppress a full-blown laugh. Ashley immediately cut the music. The rest of the room stared, wide-eyed and silent. Isabel scrambled off Michael. Seeing the dark, sticky stain spreading across his polo shirt, she frantically grabbed a handful of napkins and started dabbing at his chest and stomach. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to," she stammered. Michael was still in a state of shock. What just happened? How'd I end up on my back? And why did I enjoy it so much? It's fine, don't worry about it, he said, standing up and brushing at his clothes. He grinned. I'll just get it dry cleaned. I'm so sorry. Her soft, apologetic tone made his heart melt. Really, it's nothing, he said. I have a change of clothes in my car, some workout stuff. I'll just go change. You guys carry on, don't mind me. With that, he walked out of the room, looking happier than a man who'd just been doused in soda had any right to be. The moment he was gone, Isabel sat back down and, as if nothing had happened, casually started eating a slice of watermelon. Clap, clap, clap. Wyatt couldn't hold it in anymore. He applauded, roaring with laughter. Isabel, it's a crime you're not an actress. What a performance. Oh, shut up, she retorted, shooting him a glare. And don't you dare blow my cover. Please, Wyatt scoffed. Only Michael, who doesn't know you, would fall for that. The rest of us can see you were faking. Zip it. All right, I'm done. What? Faking? The others were completely baffled. Only Wyatt had seen the whole thing for what it was. He understood her play perfectly. It was a brilliant, two-pronged attack. First, to flirt and create physical contact, and second, to put Michael in her debt. Now she had the perfect excuse to owe him one and ask him out later. It was all about creating opportunities for contact. That was where the sparks happened. For Cece, Sophie, and Ashley, it was an education. But they knew Isabel's bold, sometimes theatrical personality. After the initial shock, they just shrugged. It was exactly the kind of thing Isabel would do. Leo, however, was dumbfounded. He'd never witnessed such a high-level maneuver. He found himself thinking that if Sophie had spilled a drink on him, he would have probably proposed on the spot. If he'd seen the scene in a movie, he'd be spamming legend in the comments. But right now, a new thought crystallized in his mind, a perfect summary of the situation. Isabel's playing poker, and she just pulled off a masterful bluff. Michael's holding all the chips, but he's an amateur. And Wyatt? Wyatt's the house, and the house always wins. When the group finally stumbled out of the karaoke place, it was already 9:30. In the parking garage, Wyatt got straight to the point. All right, who's riding with me? Me. Ashley's hand shot up first. Leo and Sophie would obviously ride with Wyatt, too. That left Michael and Isabel. This time, Isabel didn't hesitate. I'll go with Michael, she said. Beaming, Michael led her to his car, gallantly opening the passenger door for her. Thanks. Isabel slid in and dutifully buckled her seatbelt. Once Michael was in the driver's seat, she spoke again, her voice soft. Seriously, I'm really sorry about today. Hey, I told you it's fine. Don't worry about it. But that shirt looked expensive. The dry cleaning will probably cost a lot. Let me Venmo you for it. Don't be silly. The polo shirt was expensive for a normal person, but pocket change for him. He wasn't about to take her money, but she put on a pained, guilty expression. Well, if you're not worried I'll ruin it, you could give me the dirty shirt. I could wash it for you. Seeing her look so remorseful, Michael's heart started hammering again. If she washed his shirt, he wouldn't even need to go through Wyatt to set up another meeting. Okay, sure, he agreed quickly, but it's no big deal if you ruin it. It's just a shirt. The car was quiet for a few moments. As they drove over the bridge, crossing the river, Isabel suddenly sniffed the air. Do you smell smoke? Michael's blood ran cold. Crap. He'd had a quick cigarette when he went down to change clothes. He never thought she'd be able to smell it after all this time. Smoke? I don't smell anything, he said quickly, immediately pressing the button to lower the windows. A faint smile touched Isabel's lips. She played along perfectly. Oh, maybe it's just the smell from outside. Yeah, must be. I don't smoke. I really hate it when people smoke. Really. MMHMM. Wyatt and Michael pulled up to the girls' dorm one after the other. After watching them go inside, Michael, just like last time, got out of his car and slid into Wyatt's. He handed Wyatt a pack of cigarettes he'd just retrieved from his own car. Wyatt looked at him, confused. What's this? For you. Why? I don't smoke. I'm quitting, Michael declared. If you don't smoke, just toss them. Oh, and here's the lighter. He pulled a Zippo from his pocket and handed it over. It finally clicked for Wyatt. Don't tell me you're quitting because of Isabel, he said with a grin. Didn't you see her take my dirty shirt to wash? I'm telling you, besides my mom and our housekeeper, no woman has ever washed my clothes. For a girl like that, what's quitting smoking? She doesn't know I smoke, so don't you dare let it slip. I'm serious this time, man. I'm gonna win her over by the end of the year. Hearing this, Leo felt a wave of pity for Michael. He decided to intervene. Hey, Michael, can I give you some advice? Shoot. When it comes to girls, if you don't know something, you should really just ask Wyatt. Michael scoffed. Ask him? Forget it. I was running game when he was still learning algebra. Leo had more to say. He wanted to add, because I'm afraid Isabel is going to run circles around you, and you'll end up looking like a clown. But seeing Michael's confidence, he swallowed the words. Isabel is my prey now, Michael said, full of bravado. You guys just watch. Sooner or later, I'm going to conquer her. Leo didn't respond. Wyatt just stared at him for a long moment before asking, a slow dawning realization on his face. Who did you say was the prey again? As Michael drove off, Leo scratched his head. Wyatt, is it just me? Or is that guy even dumber than I am? Love is blind, Wyatt said. He's got his head in the clouds right now. Don't call him dumb. If it were you in his shoes, you'd be even worse. Still, Isabel is on another level. Has she been in a lot of relationships before? I have no idea, Wyatt shrugged. But this stuff is all about talent. Some people are clueless every single time they fall for someone. Others are naturals from day one. Are you talking about yourself? Leo asked. Wyatt just smiled and didn't answer. After he got back to his hotel, his phone rang. It was Isabel. So, Mr. Wyatt, she said, her voice dripping with amusement. How was my performance today? Wyatt let out an exasperated laugh. What? You want to critique now? I just want to make sure I didn't mess anything up. It was all right. Overall, I'd give you a 90 out of 100. Isabel's voice immediately sharpened. 90? Why not 100? What did I do wrong? Wyatt asked. Did you happen to bring up smoking in the car? Yeah, what about it? I just said I smelled smoke in the car, and he played dumb. So I went along with it and said I hate guys who smoke. What's wrong with that? You shouldn't have said you hate guys who smoke, Wyatt explained patiently. You should have said, could you please try not to smoke in the future? It's really bad for your health. He paused, then delivered the final piece of wisdom. A man will turn down a woman who offers to light his cigarette, but he'll never turn down a woman who snatches it out of his hand because she's worried about him. The moment Wyatt finished his sentence, he could hear a chorus of shrieks and hollers from the other end of the line. Isabel's voice was the loudest. Wyatt, you're a genius. Oh my God. How can a person like you even exist in this world? You're terrifying. Cece, keep an eye on your boyfriend. Don't let him go around teaching people his dark arts. Don't you dare slander me, Wyatt shot back. I'm just an innocent college kid. You're making me sound like some kind of player. Blech. I'm gonna be sick for real. Amid the gleeful chaos in dorm room 205, Wyatt got tired of listening and hung up. The next day was Saturday. When Wyatt woke up, Leo was already gone. He fumbled for his phone under the pillow and saw a message from Cece sent 20 minutes earlier. Dork, are you awake yet? He quickly sent a voice message back. Just got up. I'll come find you after I wash up. After sending the message, he plugged his phone in and rushed to the bathroom. 15 minutes later, Wyatt and Cece were in the dining hall at the music conservatory. It was mostly empty, with no lines at the food counters. Ma'am, 2 bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches and 2 coffees, please. The cafeteria worker quickly bagged the breakfast and handed it to Wyatt. He took it and turned to leave. Hey, you haven't paid yet, student, she called out. Wyatt pointed a thumb at Cece. My girlfriend's got it. Cece hurried forward, swiped her campus card, and rushed to catch up with him. I already had a protein shake in my room this morning, she said. I can't eat all this. Then just have one sandwich and a coffee. Okay. As he took a bite of his sandwich, Wyatt said, I talked to Vivian last night. Her company's expanding, and it should be all set up by the end of the month. I was thinking of going back for fall break to check on things. You should come with me. I'll buy the train tickets in advance. Why don't we drive? Cece asked. If Leo wasn't going back, it would just be the two of them in the car. Compared to a noisy train, she much preferred the idea of a private road trip. But Wyatt explained, the highways will be a nightmare during the break. If we're lucky, we'll only be stuck in traffic for a few hours. With a drive this long, we could be stuck for half a day. It's much easier to take the train. I'll ask Leo tonight. If he's staying, I'll have him drive us to the station and let him use the car while we're gone, so he can take Sophie out. Cece nodded obediently. They ate their breakfast in a comfortable silence. Suddenly, Cece's phone started ringing in her purse. She put down her spoon and pulled it out. Who is it? Wyatt asked, looking up. My mom. Cece answered the call. On the other end, Miranda, who had just arrived at her office, was twirling a pen in her fingers. Cece, honey, what are you up to? She asked cheerfully. We're having breakfast. Is Wyatt there with you? MMHMM. Perfect, Miranda said. Listen, I wanted to tell you something. Do you remember Auntie Elaine? Of course. What's up? I was on the phone with her yesterday and mentioned you were here in the city for college. When she heard, she insisted on getting your number to invite you over to her place. I was thinking, since it's the weekend and Wyatt has a car, maybe you two could pay her a visit? Is it far? Not all. She's on the Upper East Side. It's half an hour from your school, tops. Cece wasn't sure what to do, so she just handed the phone to Wyatt. He took it, listened to the situation, and quickly agreed. He didn't forget to ask, should we bring anything? Or is it okay to go empty-handed? Miranda laughed. Don't be silly. You're students. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, we'll head over right after we finish eating. Great. Let me know when you get there. Will do. Wyatt handed the phone back to Cece and frowned slightly. Is this Auntie Elaine a really good friend of your mom's? Cece nodded. They were college roommates and even interned at the same company after graduation. They both left for other jobs, but they've always stayed in touch. She's probably my mom's best friend. When was the last time you saw her? My junior year of high school. Her company transferred her to their international headquarters, so she's been out of the country for a few years. I haven't seen her since. Wyatt nodded and didn't ask any more questions. As soon as he finished his food, he stood up eagerly. All right, let's head over there now. Wipe your mouth, Cece chided gently, pulling a napkin from her pocket and holding it out. Instead of taking it, Wyatt puckered his lips and leaned toward her. Cece glanced around, and seeing that no one was paying attention, she quickly dabbed his mouth with the napkin. Wyatt immediately made a heart shape with his hands at her. Embarrassed, Cece grabbed her bag, pushed Wyatt by the back, and hurried him out of the dining hall. A little over 20 minutes later, Wyatt pulled up to the grand entrance of a high-end residential building on the Upper East Side. As he parked, Cece sent a text to Miranda. After about 5 minutes, a woman in a stylish gray pencil skirt emerged from the building. She was about 5'4", her height amplified by a pair of sharp heels. As she walked, she held a phone, comparing the license plate number Miranda had sent her with the car in front of her. Cece recognized her from a distance. As Elaine approached, Cece pushed open the car door and waved. Auntie Elaine. Elaine's face lit up with a delighted surprise. She put her phone away and hurried over, taking Cece's hands and looking her up and down before pulling her into a warm hug. Oh, my dear Cece, you've gotten so beautiful. I was afraid you wouldn't even recognize me. Of course I would. Wyatt got out of the car then, offering a warm smile. Hello, ma'am. Elaine's gaze immediately shifted to him. She had heard on the phone yesterday that Cece had a boyfriend and had been shocked. She knew how protective Charles and Miranda were of Cece. They would never normally approve of her dating so early. Besides, Cece was so introverted, she barely had any friends. How did she suddenly have a boyfriend? That's why Elaine had been so eager to have Cece over. On one hand, she missed the girl dearly. On the other, she wanted to see just what kind of boy had captured her niece's heart. Elaine's eyes scanned Wyatt from head to toe, a pleasant smile on her face. Cece, is this your boyfriend? She asked. MMHM. Cece confirmed without hesitation. Elaine gestured toward the car. Let's go inside and talk. Okay. Following Elaine's directions, Wyatt drove into the building's underground garage. In the elevator, Elaine swiped a keycard and pressed the button for the 15th floor. When the elevator doors opened, a massive living room, easily 500 square feet, spread out before them. The Upper East Side was already one of the most expensive areas in the city, and with the building's prime location and amenities, it was clear this was a sprawling, single-floor luxury apartment. Elaine provided them with slippers. After Wyatt and Cece entered the living room, she guided them to the sofa and then went to the refrigerator to ask what they wanted to drink. Water is fine. Elaine returned with 2 bottles of mineral water. She handed one to Cece, and, as she gave the other to Wyatt, she casually asked, "What's your name, handsome?" Having spent years working for multinational corporations and living abroad, Elaine was very open and direct, a stark contrast to many American women her age. Her style reflected it. In her 40s, she dressed with the flair of a woman in her 20s, a small rose tattooed behind her ear. Her whole vibe reminded Wyatt of an old saying he'd once heard, adapted for the modern woman. She had the kind of timeless confidence that said age was just a number, and hers was unlisted. "Wyatt, you could just call me Wyatt, ma'am. You two don't go to the same university, do you?" "No." Wyatt twisted the cap off his water bottle, then closed it and swapped it with Cece's before answering. "My school's over in the P11.My district, a bit of a ways from Cece's." "And what do your parents do?" Elaine pressed on. "My own mother-in-law didn't even ask me all these questions," Wyatt thought. "You're certainly jumping the gun." He smiled politely. "My dad's just a civil servant, and my mom works at a small firm." "Any siblings?" "Nope." Just as Elaine was about to ask another question, Cece couldn't take it anymore. She nudged Elaine's leg and pouted. "Auntie Elaine, why are you asking so many questions?" Elaine laughed and wrapped an arm around Cece's shoulders. "Haha, already defending your boyfriend, are we?" Cece, too shy to respond, just lowered her head, her face flushed. Wyatt, however, didn't seem to mind. Seeing that the interrogation was over for now, he let his eyes wander around the living room, taking in the decor. His gaze landed on a large display cabinet filled with trophies and certificates. Curiosity piqued, he asked, "Ma'am, would you mind if I took a closer look?" "Of course not." Wyatt walked over and scanned the awards. Recognizing them as prestigious honors for design, he asked his first real question. "Ma'am, are you a fashion designer?" "I am." "You've won so many awards." "That's incredible." After looking his fill, Wyatt returned to the sofa. A question popped into his head. He wondered if a well-known designer like Elaine had heard of Vivian's brand. If she had, it would mean the company was already making waves in the industry. "Ma'am, are you familiar with the domestic fashion brands here?" he asked. Elaine, unaware of his motive, nodded. "Of course. Just last week, I was an invited guest at a runway show for a domestic streetwear brand in Chengdu." "Then have you heard of a brand called Vivian's Secret?" Vivian's Secret? From her expression, Wyatt thought she hadn't heard of it. But then she quickly followed up, "You mean that lingerie and swimwear brand that's become so popular online this year?" Wyatt smiled and nodded. "That's the one." "Yes, I know it. Does it have something to do with you?" Before Wyatt could answer, Cece jumped in. "He started the company with another woman, a boss lady." "What?" Elaine was genuinely shocked. She had only recently heard of Vivian's Secret, mainly because of its online buzz. While it was nowhere near the level of the luxury fashion houses she'd worked for, the online reviews and word of mouth suggested it had massive potential. She would never have imagined that Wyatt, a college student, could be connected to it, let alone be a co-founder. Just moments ago, after learning about Wyatt's modest family background, Elaine had been puzzled as to why Miranda would approve of such an ordinary boyfriend for her precious daughter. But now, hearing this, she asked Wyatt directly, "Is what Cece said true?" "Yes." Wyatt nodded. He then reached into his pocket and pulled out one of the business cards Chris had made for him. He handed it to Elaine, a calm smile on his face. "This is my car, ma'am." Elaine took it. It was a heavy cardstock, black with gold foil lettering. She looked down and read the words aloud, her voice filled with disbelief. "C. Investments. Chairman. Wyatt Sue." The business card was impeccably designed, oozing sophistication. Chris had done it without telling Wyatt, believing that the company's boss needed a certain image. It was a significant upgrade from the simple cards of their previous trading company, far more impressive in both design and title. Elaine's brow furrowed. She held the card, puzzled. "Aren't you still in college?" "Oh," Wyatt explained with a casual smile. "I started my first business right after I began freshman year. I guess I got lucky, and a few ventures in a row did pretty well. This investment firm is new, just started this year. It's still pretty small scale." Elaine knew that investment was a field with an incredibly high barrier to entry. A few $1,000,000 wouldn't even make a ripple. Staring at the card in her hand, her curiosity about Wyatt intensified. At that moment, Cece began to speak up for him, recounting the story of his fresh market, the vending machine business, his movie investment. Cece probably didn't even realize it, but as she spoke, a radiant, happy smile never left her face. She was like a little girl at kindergarten, proudly showing off her parents to the other kids. Listening to her chatter on, Elaine couldn't help but wonder, is this really the same quiet, reserved little girl I used to know, the one who rarely smiled or spoke? All right. Wyatt finally interrupted when Cece had nearly exhausted her list of his accomplishments. You make it sound way more impressive than it was. Why are you so talkative today? Cece thought. I'm just trying to talk you up, and you're scolding me for it? In a fit of playful indignation, she balled up her fist and gave him a light punch on the arm. Wyatt, ever the actor, immediately feigned a mortal wound and collapsed dramatically onto the sofa. Elaine watched them dumbfounded. Seriously? Flaunting their love right in front of an old lady like me. Just so you two know, Elaine announced, I'm taking you out for lunch, and you're welcome to come over whenever you have free time on weekends. Any Elaine, Cece asked, you don't have to go abroad anymore? Nope. Aside from the occasional business trip for a fashion show, I'll be staying in the city. By the way, are you two going back to Riverwood for fall break? We are. I have to go there too. Send me your IDs later, and I'll have my assistant book our tickets. We can all go back together at the end of the month. Wyatt and Cece exchanged a glance. Wyatt nodded quickly. Okay, ma'am. Let's exchange numbers then. Sure. That afternoon, Elaine took them to an upscale restaurant near a building. During the meal, she even called Miranda to rave about Wyatt. Afterward, Wyatt drove Cece back. As soon as Elaine got home, she sat on her sofa and searched C. Investments on her phone. The top results were business directories and a brief online encyclopedia entry. After a quick scan, she clicked on a link that led to a social media post, which in turn took her to the video of Wyatt's interview. After watching the video, she finally understood why Miranda had spoken so highly of him on the phone. Elaine smiled, placed her phone on the sofa, and walked into her study. She opened her Apple laptop, pulled up a document, and resumed typing the resignation letter she had started that morning. Back in the dorm, the polo shirt, which had been in the washing machine overnight, was now clean. Isabel took it down from the drying rack and spread it out on her desk. She found her favorite bottle of perfume in a drawer and gave the shirt a light spritz. Then she found a nice shopping bag from a recent purchase and carefully folded the shirt inside. Ashley watched her, curious. Isabel, when are you going to get the shirt back to him? Monday. Monday. Ashley was confused. Why wait until Monday? Isabel smirked. Monday is a work day. I'm going to deliver it directly to his office. What? Ashley didn't get it. The shirt was dry. Even if today was too late, tomorrow was still the weekend. Why not just have him come pick it up? Isabel explained, think about it. He's a young manager at a big company. How many vixens do you think are lurking around him? If I show up at his office, what do you think his colleagues will assume about my relationship with him? Holy crap, Ashley swore, the realization dawning on her. Isabel's smile was cold. First, I'll eliminate all the potential rivals. Then, I can focus on conquering Michael. Even if he's the monkey king himself, he won't escape my grasp. Ashley gave her two enthusiastic thumbs up, her eyes filled with awe. On the drive back, Wyatt got a call from Michael. He answered and put it on speaker. Yo, spit it out, I'm driving. You alone? Michael asked quickly. Wyatt made a shush gesture to Cece and replied. Yeah, what's up? Michael chuckled. Want to grab dinner tonight? My treat. Sure, Wyatt said agreeably. Send me the location. I'll bring Leo. No, Michael said immediately. Don't come alone. Bring all of them. You dog, Wyatt teased. We just ate together yesterday, and you're already trying to ask her out again? Wyatt deliberately played hard to get. You can't rush these things. Dating is like leveling up in a video game. You have to clear one level at a time to finally achieve victory. Cece, in the passenger seat, was completely lost. She'd heard Isabel say almost the exact same thing before. Michael thought it made sense. So, when do you think I should confess my feelings? Tell her I want to be with her. Remember this, Wyatt said sagely. A confession should be the trumpet call of victory, not the charge of an attack. She's not an idiot. You keep asking her out, being nice to her. You think she doesn't know you're interested. Dude, you just started college. Where are you getting all these theories? I'm a natural. Bullshit. Michael laughed. You talk like you know everything. I know more than you. Okay, then I'll ask you. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Wyatt answered without hesitation. The chicken, obviously. Michael pressed. Then where did the first chicken come from? A really, really bad decision. The other end of the line went silent for 5 seconds, then erupted in a burst of unrestrained laughter. Michael was clutching his stomach, still howling, when he realized the line had gone dead. A really, really bad decision. A really, really bad decision. What were you two talking about? I didn't understand any of it, Cece said, blinking in confusion. Wyatt laughed. It's normal that you don't get it. So where to next? Whatever's fine. Every time I ask you, it's either whatever or anything's fine. Can't you be a little more decisive for once? Cece had never been a decisive person. She wasn't good at making choices. Before, when she spent her days at home, she rarely had to. After meeting Wyatt, he was the one who made the decisions. But his prodding sparked something in her. Fine, she blurted out. Let's go back to the hotel. Wyatt nodded, a smirk playing on his lips. Okay, back to the hotel it is. I trust you won't try anything funny. Cece stared at him in disbelief. But I don't trust you, she shot back. I've changed my mind. I want to go back to my dorm. You already made your decision. No takebacks. Stop the car. I want to get out. I told you a long time ago, Wyatt said, his voice dropping to a playful growl. Once you're on my pirate ship, there's no escaping. Whoever kisses me later is a mangy dog. Woof woof woof. Ha ha, get away from me. Happy times always seem to fly by. The weekend passed in a blur. As September drew to a close, an autumn rain descended on the city, bringing a chill to the air. Most people had started adding a light jacket over their short sleeves. After 2 morning classes, Isabel returned to her dorm and, feeling the cold, pulled a knit sweater from her closet. Her outfit for the day was simple, a pink sweater paired with washed blue jeans. She'd even put 2 cartoonish clips in her hair, perfectly fitting the college girl persona she was aiming for. Around 1 o'clock, she sent a text to Michael. Are you busy? Michael had just gone back to his office from lunch and was about to lie down for a quick nap. At the sound of his phone, he initially assumed it was a message from a work group chat. When he lazily picked it up and saw it was from Isabel, he shot up from the sofa, as if spring-loaded. It was the first time she had ever messaged him at this time of day. He excitedly typed back, Nope, it's my lunch break. What's up? Isabel's second message came quickly. Your shirt is all clean. Can you send me your office address? I could drop it off for you. Michael's fingers flew across the screen. No, don't worry about it. It's too much trouble. I can drive over this evening. He paused mid-sentence. An idea struck him. Having her come to the office was a much better option than him going to her dorm. Today was Monday, and if she was free in the afternoon, it meant she didn't have classes. If she came over, he could have her stay for a while, and they could even grab dinner together afterward. No pesky roommates acting as chaperones. If he went to her dorm and her roommates were there, it would be awkward not to invite them along. With this in mind, Michael deleted his previous message and wrote a new one. Okay, text me when you get off the subway. My office is right near the station. I'll come down and meet you. He sent the message, then immediately sent his company's location. Haha, I'm a genius. At 2:05 p.m., Isabel arrived outside the headquarters of Apex Capital. She tilted her head back, taking in the towering skyscraper in the heart of the city's central business district. It gave her a much clearer understanding of the weight behind Michael's rich kid label. Isabel would be the first to admit that part of Michael's appeal was his status. It wasn't the only reason, but it was a significant one. For her, the criteria for a partner were simple and in a specific order. Rich, tall, handsome. She learned early on that love couldn't pay the bills. She'd always been a cry in a Mercedes kind of girl, not a laugh on a bus one. As for other qualities girls looked for, ambition, kindness to parents, a sense of humor, a good personality, those were all just bonus points. She was confident in her ability to mold any decent man into the partner she wanted. Boys, she had realized, were much easier to please than girls. A designer bag or a bouquet of flowers might make a girl happy for a few minutes, but a simple, I love you or you're so handsome could keep a boy on cloud 9 all night. Isabel had understood these truths for a long time. Standing at the base of the building, holding the bag with the polo shirt, she pulled out her phone and sent a voice message to Michael. Michael, I'm here. After Michael replied with a quick, okay, he bolted from his office. He sprinted out of the elevator and practically ran to the company's main entrance. When he saw Isabel standing there, a joyful, excited smile spread across his face. Isabel. Isabel turned slowly. That one simple movement, a slow turn and a smile, hit Michael with the force of a cinematic cliché. It was a move straight out of a movie, a smile that made the bustling city street feel like a backdrop designed just for her. I hope I'm not disturbing your work, she said sweetly. No, not at all. Isabel stepped forward and handed him the bag with both hands. I washed it myself, she said. It might not be as good as a dry cleaner's, but I hope you don't mind. Of course not. Well, if there's nothing else, I should probably get going. Without giving him a chance to respond, Isabel turned and started to walk away. It was a classic move, playing hard to get. She hadn't taken more than a few steps before Michael's panicked voice called out, "Wait, you came all this way. If you don't have class this afternoon, why don't you come up to my office for a bit?" Isabel stopped, turned back, and blinked her eyes innocently. "Can I?" she asked, her voice soft and hesitant. "Yes, of course." Only then did she walk back, following Michael into the grand lobby. As expected, the moment Michael walked into the main office area with Isabel, nearly every woman between the ages of 20 and 30 turned to stare, their eyes filled with a mixture of confusion, envy, and jealousy. Isabel, catching the looks from the corner of her eye, quickened her pace, clinging close to Michael like a wide-eyed girl who had never seen such a place before. "How long did it take you to get here?" Michael asked. "About half an hour. I had something I was dealing with, otherwise I would have just driven over to get it. I feel bad making you come all this way." "It's no problem. I didn't have class this afternoon anyway. And besides, this was all my fault. Hey, if you hadn't brought it up today, I would have almost forgotten about it. Don't worry about it. Is this entire building your company?" "Yep." "Wow, your company is huge." "It's all right." The elevator stopped at the floor of the investment division. As Michael led Isabel toward his office, several employees greeted him respectfully. "Mr. Zhao, Mr. Zhao, Mr. Zhao, I left 2 documents on your desk that need your signature." "Got it." "Michelle, can you bring 2 cups of coffee to my office?" Michael turned his head to Isabel, his voice full of concern. "You take sugar, right?" Isabel smiled brightly. "I do. Make one of them with 2 sugar cubes," Michael instructed. "Right away, Mr. Zhao." As Michael led Isabel into his private office and closed the door, a low murmur of gossip erupted outside. "Is that Mr. Zhao's girlfriend?" "Has to be. Did you see the way he looked at her?" "Well, there go the dreams of every single woman in this company. Some people are just born lucky. Back to the grind, ladies. Guess we'll have to earn our own money. Gotta say, though, she has a great figure." "Yeah, but her chest is a little small. You can't judge a girlfriend by her chest or her face. That stuff is superficial. As a man, the first thing you have to check is if she has a penis. You never know these days. Too many traps. You're sick. Did you learn that the hard way, or something?" "Ha ha ha. Keep it down. Don't let Mr. Zhao hear you. He's busy falling in love. He's got no time for us right now. This is your office? All to yourself. MMHMM. It's huge." Isabel looked around curiously, taking in the room's furnishings. As a team leader in the company's most important department, Michael's office was fully equipped. A leather sofa, a massive fish tank, a solid wood tea table, and even a high-end massage chair. Most small companies wouldn't even furnish their CEO's office this lavishly. "Make yourself comfortable," Michael said with a smile. "I just have to take care of a few things. It won't take long." "Okay." Isabel sat obediently on the sofa, not making a sound. A moment later, his assistant, Michelle Lee, entered with 2 cups of coffee. She placed one on Michael's desk, then turned and offered the other, the one with sugar, to Isabel. As she did, she gave Isabel a quick, appraising glance. Michelle was plain-looking, but despite being just Michael's assistant, no one in the company dared to cross her. The reason was simple. She had been personally appointed to the position by the CEO, Robert Zhao. She was competent, sharp, and skilled at reading people. She'd originally been hired for an administrative role, but her big break came when she was assigned to host a VIP guest. Having done her homework, she catered to the guest's every need, earning his high praise. The guest mentioned her specifically to Robert, who then observed her for a while before appointing her as his nephew's assistant. Robert's motives were twofold. Beyond her competence, Michelle's ordinary appearance was a key asset. He knew that since his nephew had joined the company, he had become a target for many of the single female employees. He was worried that if he didn't assign an assistant, Michael might choose some flirtatious subordinate himself, leading to a potential scandal. Michelle understood her role perfectly. She had been diligent and professional, discreetly warding off any women who tried to get too close to Michael with a strategically low-cut blouse or a suggestive sway of the hips. "Thank you," Isabel said as she took the coffee. "You're welcome. If it's still too bitter, I can take you to the break room to add some milk." "It's fine, thanks." Michelle smiled, exited the office, and gently closed the door behind her. Michael didn't actually have much work to do, but to cultivate an image of being a dedicated professional, he pretended to be engrossed in the project files his assistant had brought him. Seeing Michael so focused, Isabel put down her coffee, stood up, and walked over to the massage chair. "Can I try this?" she asked softly. Michael looked up and smiled. "Of course." She sat down, but the chair was a high-tech model with a confusing array of buttons. After fumbling with it for a moment, unable to get it started, Michael got up and walked over. He expertly pressed a few buttons, and the back of the chair began to recline, with Isabel slowly lying back. Ooh, this is so comfortable. You can put your legs in the middle part here. It massages them too. Where? Lying flat, Isabel couldn't see her feet. A nervous Michael knelt down, gently took hold of her ankles, and guided her feet into the leg-massaging compartments. At that moment, Isabel cursed her own thick skin. If this were Cece or Sophie, their faces would be bright red, a reaction that would have surely sent this dummy's heart racing. All she could do was close her eyes, purse her lips, and feign a shy expression. But for Michael, it was more than enough. His heart rate was already pushing 120. He could feel his chest heaving as he looked down at her, the blood roaring in his ears. This is what a first love feels like. I'm so into her. He didn't dare stand there staring, afraid she'd notice. He quickly retreated to his desk. Knock, knock, knock. A few minutes later, Michelle knocked and entered the office again. Before she could speak, Michael quickly made a shush gesture. Michelle glanced at the reclining Isabel, swallowed her words, and waited for Michael to come to the door. Mr. Zhao, she whispered, the risk management department wants you and the other team leaders to come up for a quick meeting. Okay, I got it. Michael nodded. If she wakes up and asks for me, just tell her I'm in a meeting. And if she tries to leave, make sure you stop her. Understood. After giving his instructions, Michael headed upstairs. Not long after he left, Isabel's eyes fluttered open. She scanned the empty office, stretched lazily, and then walked over to Michael's desk. She looked at the items on it, mostly boring files, and found nothing of interest. On a whim, she pulled out his chair to sit down, but as she did, her eyes fell on the wastebasket next to it. It was filled with dozens of gum wrappers. It hit her instantly. Because of what she'd said, Michael was trying to quit smoking. The realization brought a deep sense of satisfaction. Quitting smoking wasn't easy for any man. The fact that he was doing it for her, because of a single sentence, proved that she already held a place in his heart. As she was about to get up and return to the sofa, her arm accidentally brushed the mouse. The computer screen, which had been dark, suddenly lit up. She casually clicked the left mouse button and discovered that Michael hadn't set a password. Her curiosity was piqued. She scanned the desktop icons, saw nothing unusual, and then moved the cursor to the browser icon. A double click brought up the homepage. It didn't take her long to find the browser's history. When she clicked on it, Michael's search history from the past few days filled the screen. What to pay attention to on a date with a girl. How to pursue a girl you like. 3 quick tricks to quit smoking. What is the global pass rate for the FRM exam? Inc. Live daily active users. Top 5 US live streaming platforms. Korean girl group music videos. Red2 best of college girls. She clicked the bottom left corner of the screen, putting the computer back into sleep mode. The search history told a clear story. Michael had virtually no experience with relationships. He was a complete novice, otherwise he wouldn't be Googling such basic questions. It also revealed he had a bit of a lecherous side. But Isabel didn't mind. She herself would linger for an extra second on a photo of a guy with abs on social media. It was only natural for a man to be a little horny. After the screen went black, Isabel stood up, grabbed her bag from the sofa, and walked out of the office. She hadn't gone 10 steps before Michelle intercepted her. Mr. Zhao asked me to tell you he's in a meeting upstairs and will be down shortly. Would you mind waiting for him in the office for a little longer? Well, Isabel hesitated, then said, I don't have to wait in the office. I can just wait for him in the lounge area by the entrance. That works too. We have plenty of snacks in the break room. Feel free to grab whatever you'd like. Let me know if you need anything else. Thank you. You're welcome. Isabel waited for about 20 minutes before Michael came down from his meeting. He saw her sitting in the lounge area, happily munching on a bag of potato chips. He walked over with a smile. Are those good? They're okay. The tomato flavor is better. Isabel suddenly realized it was Michael asking the question. She quickly swallowed her mouthful of chips and hid the bag behind her back, looking like a little girl caught stealing snacks by her parents. Michael's heart fluttered. Why are you sitting out here? He asked softly. I woke up and you weren't in the office. I was going to head back to my dorm, but your assistant asked me to wait for you. It's 3:20 now. Can you wait for me for another half hour? I'll take you out to dinner at 4. Isabel blinked. Does your company let you leave that early? Haha. I have special privileges, Michael said with a booming laugh. Come on back to my office. Oh. As they passed Michelle's desk, Michael paused. Michelle, a quick word. Yes, sir. Michael pointed to the bag of chips in Isabel's hand. From now on, stock the break room with the tomato-flavored ones. Michelle glanced at Isabel, understood immediately, and nodded. Yes, sir. I'll take care of it right away. Isabel heard this and inwardly rejoiced. Now that's more like it. Who doesn't love a domineering CEO? True to his word, Michael left the company with Isabel at precisely 4 o'clock. He asked her what she wanted to eat. After a long moment of thought, she gave an answer that left him both amused and bewildered. Is KFC okay? Michael laughed. Come on, it's my treat. You can pick a more expensive restaurant, you know. But I'm really craving KFC right now. All right, your wish is my command. Can we get a family bucket? If I can't finish it, I can bring the rest back for my roommates. Michael laughed heartily and nodded. Of course. We can get 10 buckets if you want. What are you laughing at? Drive safely. Okay. Not long after Michael left, Michelle received a call from Robert Zhao's secretary. Michelle, could you ask Mr. Zhao to come up? The boss wants to see him. Karen, Mr. Zhao has already left for the day. Left? It's not even closing time. He left early again. Yes. Hold on. I'll let the boss know. Okay. About 3 minutes later, the phone rang again. The woman Michelle had called Karen got straight to the point. Michelle, come on up. The boss has some questions for you. Okay, I'm on my way. Without even hanging up, Michelle stood and walked toward the elevator. When she reached the CEO's office, Karen gave her a subtle nod. Michelle knocked on the door and, upon hearing Robert's voice from within, pushed it open and entered. Robert Zhao put down the financial report he was reading and took off his reading glasses. What time did he leave? 4 o'clock. Has it been like this for the past few days? No, just today. Did he tell you where he was going? At 2 o'clock this afternoon, Mr. Zhao went downstairs to meet a young woman. They stayed in his office for most of the afternoon. He went to a meeting in risk management, and not long after he came back down, he left with her. A woman? What kind of woman? Very pretty and very young. She looks like a college student. Mr. Zhao and her. They looked like they were. Like what? Like they were dating. Robert Zhao's brow furrowed into a deep line. He was silent for a long time before asking a question that Michelle didn't know how to answer. In your opinion, what did you think of the girl? Michelle thought for a long moment before replying carefully. Mr. Zhao's judgment is certainly better than mine. I thought she seemed like a good match for him, visually. I only spoke a few words with her, so I don't know what she's really like. Saying too much was a mistake. If she said Isabel was great and something went wrong later, the boss might blame her. If she said Isabel was no good and they ended up together, her own life at the company would become difficult. Her answer was a masterclass in diplomacy. All right, I understand. You may go. Michelle bowed quickly and hurried out of the office. Robert Zhao sat in his chair, lost in thought, his fingers tapping a rhythmic beat on the desk. His brow remained tightly furrowed. Michael was at an age where marriage was a consideration. In a normal family, the elders would be thrilled to hear he was dating. But for the Zhao family, the choice of a partner was a matter of great importance. The right woman could elevate a man's career to new heights, while the wrong one could send it crashing down. The issue wasn't that he was dating, it was who he was dating. This was Robert Zhao's primary concern. He decided that after work, he would go directly to Michael's apartment and ask him about it face to face. Meanwhile, an oblivious Michael was sitting in a KFC, watching with a foolish grin as Isabel devoured a spicy chicken sandwich. Isabel had noticed him staring long ago, but she pretended not to until she was halfway through her sandwich. You should eat, she said. Why are you just watching me? Because you're beautiful, Michael blurted out. Isabel blinked, momentarily stunned into silence. The atmosphere in the little KFC booth suddenly crackled with unspoken tension. They finished the rest of their meal in near silence. Afterward, Michael had the staff pack up a family bucket to go and then drove Isabel back to her dorm. Well, I'm heading up, she said. Okay, drive safe. Be safe. And get some rest. Isabel pushed the car door open, but just as she was about to get out, Michael called her name again. She turned back, a curious look on her face that seemed to ask, is there something else? Michael laughed awkwardly. Can I ask you a question? What is it? Michael asked the question he already knew the answer to. Do you have a boyfriend? Isabel's expression shifted from surprise to a flustered panic. Of course not, she stammered. Okay, I get it. Isabel closed the door and hurried into her dorm. The moment she was inside, she let out a sigh of frustration. You big idiot, she thought. Couldn't you just ask, can I pursue you? So dumb. Watching her shyly retreat, Michael, who felt he had made his intentions crystal clear, slapped the steering wheel several times in triumph. He excitedly turned the car around to head home, but as he neared his apartment, he realized he'd left his keys at the office. Fortunately, his place was close by. By the time he got back to the office, most of the employees had already left. He took the elevator up to his office, grabbed his keys from a drawer, and then noticed the bag with his shirt still sitting on the sofa. He pocketed the keys, walked over, and took the black polo shirt out of the bag. A faint, sweet fragrance immediately filled the air. It's her scent. Michael held the shirt to his face, inhaling the perfume, a blissful smile spreading across his face as he imagined her washing it for him by hand. He carefully refolded the shirt, placed it back in the bag, and drove home, happy as a clam. He unlocked his front door and stepped inside to find the lights on. His uncle, Robert Zhao, was sitting on the living room sofa, his expression calm as he waited. "Uncle, you?" Robert let out a small sigh of relief. He had expected Michael to be out late, but it wasn't even 7 o'clock yet. For Robert, this was at least a small, positive sign. "Where have you been?" "Out to dinner with a friend. A male friend or a female friend?" Michael's heart sank. He knew his uncle must have found out about Isabel. It wasn't surprising. She had been at the office all afternoon, and anything that happened in the company could be reported back to his uncle if he wanted to know. "A female friend. In which nightclub or bar did you meet this one in?" "Uncle." For the first time, Michael's tone was firm. "She's a college student. She's not one of those trashy women you're thinking of." "What's her name?" "Isabel Zhang." "How did you meet?" Michael sat down on the sofa and explained, "You know that live streaming project I invested in with Wyatt? After we signed the contract, Wyatt treated me to dinner and brought along his girlfriend and her roommates. That's how we met." "And what was she doing at the office today?" "She accidentally spilled a drink on my shirt last time we were out. She felt bad about it, so she took it home to wash it for me. She was just dropping it off today." Robert was silent for a moment. "I'm not against you dating at your age," he finally said, "but you need to open your eyes. You need to be able to distinguish between a woman who's after your status and your money, and one who's after you for who you are." "I know, Uncle. I'm not an idiot," Michael said with a weak smile. "I took her to dinner tonight, and she insisted on going to KFC. Anyone else would have probably pushed for the most expensive restaurant possible." Robert didn't say anything more. He just stood up and said flatly, "Next time she comes to the office, bring her upstairs to see me." "Uncle, we just met. We're not even dating yet." But Robert was already walking away without a word. Uncle." Ever since his chat with the university president, Wyatt had shifted his focus entirely to his company. As for his classes, he attended when he had time and skipped when he didn't. What Wyatt didn't know was that after several of his absences, Ethan had secretly gone to their advisor, Ms. Sutton, to report him. Ms. Sutton, having gotten to know the personalities of most of the students in her class, didn't say much. She simply replied coolly, "A university is a place of tolerance. Everyone here has their own goals. I suggest you focus on yourself and not on what others are doing." Her words left Ethan speechless. These days, he only dared to tattle in secret. Even though Wyatt rarely showed up to class, he was still the class president with the most respect among his peers. This week, Wyatt was focused on 2 main tasks: coordinating with the web development company and designing the specifics of the student entrepreneurship support program. Both were progressing smoothly. Before he knew it, it was Sunday, September 27th, the day of the Mid-Autumn Festival. Because the long fall break was just around the corner, the university had rearranged the schedule to only give 1 day off for the festival, leading to a flood of complaints in the class group me. Wyatt, long accustomed to such scheduling quirks, wasn't bothered. He drove to pick up Cece early Sunday morning. They spent the day wandering around the city. As evening approached, Miranda video called them. Seeing Wyatt and Cece together, she kept the call brief. After she hung up, Wyatt immediately said, "Quick, send your dad a message." Cece looked at him curious. "Send him what? Didn't you see your mom is home?" Wyatt grinned. "Call your dad and tell him. If your dad's not a complete moron, he'll go find your mom tonight." "You're the moron." Yes, I'm a moron." Cece held her phone, a worried look on her face. "My dad is so proud. What if he's too stubborn to go see her?" "That's easy. Your dad works at a bank, right? They definitely give out mooncakes for the festival. Tell him to take some mooncakes over to your mom's place and say he's just dropping them off early for you. Your mom's not stupid. No matter what excuse he uses, she'll know he's really there to see her. All we have to do is get them in the same room, create opportunities for them. One of these days, the spark will reignite. They might even give you a little brother." "Wyatt." Cece pointed a finger at him threateningly. "If you say one more ridiculous thing, I'm going to hit you." "What did I say that was ridiculous?" "Hold out your hand." Wyatt meekly extended his hand. Cece raised her small hand and slapped his palm. Even though the impact probably hurt her hand more, she maintained her victorious posture. "Have you learned your lesson?" Yes, I've learned." Cece pouted, then picked up her phone to text her dad. But she couldn't figure out what to say. She finally shoved the phone into Wyatt's hand. "You do it," she said bossily. Wyatt smiled, took the phone, and began composing a message to his future father-in-law. Cece naturally linked her arm through his, leaning her head close to watch. The evening breeze was cool and refreshing. Even though it was just a one-day holiday, Isabel had gone home. She said her parents were back from Australia, and they were having a family reunion dinner. That night, after dinner with Leo, Sophie, and Ashley, Leo suggested they find a place to watch the moon. Someone proposed going to the waterfront at Dumbo. Another suggested a mountain park farther out. But Wyatt held veto power. He felt Dumbo would be too crowded, and the mountain was too far, a 2-hour round trip from the music conservatory and even farther from his own school. With classes the next day, he vetoed both. In the end, Wyatt chose Brooklyn Bridge Park, only a 25-minute drive from his school. While not as bustling as Dumbo, it was right on the river, and he knew the view tonight would be spectacular. Wyatt drove with Cece in the passenger seat. Leo, Sophie, and the perpetually single Ashley squeezed into the back. The 5 of them chattered and laughed all the way to the park. After parking, they strolled along the park's paths, talking about recent events, reminiscing about the past, and dreaming about the future. Time slipped by, and they eventually found themselves lying on a grassy lawn, hands laced behind their heads, gazing up at the big, round moon. "It's gone by so fast," Ashley said, breaking the silence. "We're already sophomores. The next time I say that, will we be seniors? I hope we'll still have chances to hang out like this then," Sophie whispered. Leo sighed. "It won't be this relaxing. We'll be busy with our theses, looking for internships, and facing all sorts of choices." Wyatt chuckled. "Why think so far ahead? We'll cross those bridges when we come to them. Worrying about the past or the future just causes stress. Better to enjoy the now." "You're so weird, Wyatt. Sometimes you talk like you're some old man, giving advice to the younger generation. So old-fashioned." "Can't help it. I matured early," Wyatt said, then changed the subject. "I'm a little thirsty. Anyone else?" "A little." "Leo, go buy water. Why are you always ordering me around? Why don't you go yourself?" "You dog, I bought dinner. Can't you buy me a bottle of water?" Leo, unable to win the argument, grumbled as he got up and headed toward a nearby concession stand. Sophie quickly followed. "Leo, I'll go with you." After they left, Wyatt chuckled. "Well, look at them. Things are moving fast. Sophie's calling him Leo now. I remember when she used to use his full name." Cece smiled. "Are you jealous?" "A little. Can you stop calling me by my full name from now on?" "Then what should I call you?" "Call me babe." "No. How about darling?" "In your dreams." Cece could never bring herself to use such a cheesy term of endearment. Wyatt adopted a serious tone. "Leo told me this morning he has an A.M. class tomorrow. I'm going to drop him off at his school on the way back tonight. Since he'll be at his dorm, you shouldn't go back to yours. I booked a room with 2 beds, after all." Cece covered her ears, pretending not to hear. "All right, let me ask you a question. Go ahead. Out of mom, dad, brother, sister, and husband, which one isn't a blood relative?" "My husband," she answered immediately. Wyatt rolled onto his side, gently pinching her nose with a grin. "Haha, you're so smart, wifey." Ashley shot up from the grass, hugging herself and rubbing her arms, which were covered in goosebumps. "That's enough, you two. There's another person here, you know. There's a grove of trees over there. If you want to be all lovey-dovey, go do it in the woods." Wyatt clutched his stomach, laughing, while Cece giggled beside him. A little while later, Leo and Sophie returned with bottles of water. The 5 of them stayed until just after 9, when Leo glanced at his watch. "Maybe we should head back. It's getting late." "Yeah." Wyatt tossed his empty water bottle into a trash can, stood up, and slung an arm around Leo, steering him toward the restroom. With him gone, Ashley finally couldn't hold it in any longer. "Cece, you're so clueless. Didn't you know that question he asked was a total setup?" Cece just smiled sweetly. "I know. Then why did you?" Ashley started, but then she saw the look on Cece's face and instantly understood everything. "So it's a willing victim and a willing perpetrator. Ugh, why did I even ask? I just got another giant spoonful of their PDA shoved down my throat. So annoying." Riverwood. After receiving the message from his precious daughter, David mustered his courage and drove to Maple Creek Estates with several boxes of mooncakes. He parked outside, walked to the gate, and rang the doorbell twice. Miranda, who had been getting ready for an early night, frowned at the sound. Who could be here at this hour? Curiosity piqued. She went to the courtyard and opened the main gate. Seeing David standing there, her expression became complicated. "What are you doing here?" "Well, fall break is coming up, and Cece will be home. I brought some mooncakes over to leave for her." "Give them to me." Miranda reached out to take the boxes. David wasn't a fool. He knew if he handed over the mooncakes, he wouldn't be getting through the gate. He quickly invented a lame excuse. They're a little heavy. I could just take them inside. Miranda nearly broke into a smile. They had been married, after all. She knew his little tricks, but she lowered her hand, turned, and walked back toward the house. David quickly followed. The house was just as he remembered it, spacious but with a cold, empty feeling. Miranda sat down on the living room sofa, holding her dark phone, thinking, go on, keep acting. Let's see what you're really up to. David placed the mooncakes on the floor by the door and glanced around the living room. Did you eat tonight? He asked meekly. It's this late. What do you think? So, this trip back. How long will you be staying? I'll go back to the company after Cece returns to school. Then I probably won't be back until before the new year. Why do you ask? I just wanted to remind you to find a balance between work and rest. We're both in our 40s now. Working so hard will take a toll on your body. I don't need you to manage me. Seeing her cold attitude, David sighed inwardly. I should go then. You get some sleep. Miranda replied without looking up. David turned and left. The moment the door to the living room closed, both of their faces fell, expressions of loneliness washing over them. David looked up at the moon, and memories of the past flashed through his mind like a movie on fast forward. Though they had spent more time apart than together, and there had been more unhappy days than happy ones, in this moment, the good times were magnified. He was filled with regret and guilt. He finally realized that he was the one who had destroyed the happy life their family should have had. And in the living room, on the other side of the wall, after David had closed the door, Miranda put down her phone and leaned back against the sofa. She stared blankly at a glass of water on the table. She might be a powerful businesswoman at work, but she was also a woman who had been married, a mother. On a day meant for family reunions, sitting alone in this vast living room, how could she not feel lonely and desolate? Just as she was sinking in her melancholy, a frantic pounding suddenly came from the front gate. Bang, 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 bang. Miranda, open the door. I have something I need to say to you. Miranda yanked the door open. She looked up at Charles, her voice ice cold. Charles, what the hell are you doing? Charles's voice was thick with emotion. Miranda, let's get back together. The words struck her like a bolt of lightning, completely out of the blue. She froze. In all the years since the divorce, there had been no shortage of men who had pursued her, but she'd never remarried. The truth was, she had been waiting for those exact words. But for some reason, hearing them now, the only thing Miranda felt was a deep, profound sense of grievance. As a single woman, she'd had to throw herself into her work to provide Cece with a good life. For years, she had been a slave to her career, often flying between 2 states in a single day, all while consumed with worry for her daughter. Was she eating properly? Was she scared sleeping alone at night? Would the loneliness lead to depression? On countless sleepless nights, Miranda had turned to alcohol just to numb the ache, a secret known only to her assistant. Charles, what do you take me for? Miranda's eyes instantly reddened. You think you can just say divorce and we get divorced, then say get back together, and we just get back together? She clenched her fists, her sharp nails digging into her palms, but she felt nothing. Seeing her reddened eyes, a fresh wave of pain pierced Charles's heart. He didn't try to make any excuses. He just lowered his head and said, I'm sorry. Miranda had waited a long time to hear those words. She never imagined Charles would say them on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. She began to beat her fists against his chest, over and over, each blow a release of years of pent-up resentment. What good is sorry now? What good is it? You bastard. Get out, just get out. Tears betrayed her, streaming down her cheeks. Charles just stood there, letting her hit him. When he saw her tears, he finally found a sliver of courage. He took a step forward and pulled her into a tight embrace. After a brief, fierce struggle, Miranda finally went still, though her tears continued to fall. Just give me one more chance, he whispered. For Cece's sake. I'll listen to you from now on, I promise. You think I can still trust you? Then tell me, what do I have to do for you to take me back? Let go of me. No, let go. No. For the first time in his life, Charles was acting like a stubborn child. Seeing that she had stopped fighting him, some wire in his brain must have crossed. He lowered his head and kissed her. The second their lips touched, he was met with the sharp crack of a slap across the face. The blow nearly sent him reeling. Before he could even react, Miranda shoved him away and slammed the door shut with a resounding bang. She leaned against it, gasping for breath, her mind a chaotic storm. Charles clutched his stinging cheek and walked over to the window, shouting, You haven't answered my question. What do I have to do for you to take me back? Feeling his delivery lacked punch, he quickly added, Cece was the one who told me to come here tonight. You know better than anyone that she's always wanted us to get back together. Those words finally struck a chord with Miranda. Suppressing the storm in her heart, she called out, "Then give me back what you owe me." "What I owe you? What do I owe you?" Charles was dumbfounded again. "Get out!" Miranda snapped the curtains shut, deliberately making a series of hurried footsteps before grabbing a glass from the coffee table and gulping down the water. Charles, thinking she had gone upstairs, trudged dejectedly out of the yard, closing the gate behind him. He got back in his car and sat for a long time, unable to decipher her last words. Finally, he picked up his phone and sent a message to his precious daughter. "Charles, Cece, are you asleep?" Meanwhile, Wyatt was still driving. In the passenger seat, Cece heard her phone buzz. She glanced at it and silently typed a reply. "Cece, not yet." Another message from Charles came through immediately. "Charles, I just asked your mom about getting back together. She told me to give her back what I owe her first." "Cece, what does she mean by that?" Cece was pleasantly surprised that her father had actually brought it up tonight, but she was just as clueless about her mother's words. She glanced at Wyatt, saw they were close to campus, and quickly typed, "I'm almost back at the dorm. We'll talk when I get there." A few minutes later, the car pulled up in front of the women's dormitory. Sophie and Ashley quickly hopped out. Wyatt saw Cece sitting motionless in the passenger seat and teased, "If you don't get out, I'm taking you to a hotel." Cece ignored him, rolling down the window to speak to her roommates. "Sophie, Ashley, I have to take care of something. You guys go on up." Sophie started to say something, but Ashley quickly pulled her back, gave Cece a knowing look and a wave, and dragged Sophie toward the dorm. Only then did Cece hand her phone to Wyatt. He read the messages from Charles and grinned. "Well, look at that. Your dad finally worked up the nerve to ask your mom to get back together. Just reply to him quickly." Wyatt scratched his head. "Your mom's a complex woman. I need to properly analyze this. Give me a minute. Then think faster. Let's talk about it back at the hotel." Cece knew he would say that. When she told Sophie and Ashley she had things to do, she had already braced herself. She lowered her head and mumbled, "Just drive." Wyatt's eyes widened. "You're serious?" Cece immediately shot him a fierce glare. Wyatt broke into a goofy grin. "Right away, ma'am." He shifted the car from neutral to drive and sped off toward the hotel. He swiped the key card and opened the door. As soon as they were in the room, Cece handed him the phone. She knew he understood exactly what her mother meant. The little creep was just using it as an excuse to get her back to the hotel. She had him all figured out. Sometimes, she just pretended to fall for it. Wyatt took the phone and sent a voice message. "Charles, what Miranda means is actually pretty simple. She wants you to court her again. You have to show her you're sincere." Charles played the message. As soon as he heard Wyatt's voice, he felt a surge of annoyance. Why is this kid replying? But after listening, he had to admit Wyatt had a point. He and Miranda had gotten married not long after they met. He'd never properly confessed his feelings, let alone proposed. But the thought of a man in his 40s having to date like a teenager again made Charles feel a complete lack of confidence. He was stumped. In the hotel room, Cece asked, surprised, "That's it?" Wyatt shrugged. "Your dad already took the brave first step. The rest isn't that hard." He tossed the phone onto the bed, took both of Cece's hands in his, and grinned. "Finally, tonight I could just hold you, chat, and really talk about what's on our minds." Cece pulled her hands back and pointed to the space between the two beds. "That's the 38th parallel. Whoever crosses that line tonight is a son of a bitch." Miranda barely slept. Charles's words echoed in her ears all night. The hug, the fleeting kiss, it all replayed in her mind, impossible to dismiss. For the first half of the night, she silently blamed him. But in the latter half, she began to reflect on her own actions. She thought about her own shortcomings in the marriage, wondering if things might have been different if she had been more understanding. She wondered if the slap had been too hard. She tossed and turned all night, finally drifting off in the early hours of the morning. Charles's night was much the same. Though his cheeks still stung, he felt everything he'd done was worth it. He spent the entire night plotting his next move, trying to figure out how to make up for the years of regret. As for Wyatt, he spent the entire night being a son of a bitch. Cece only realized it when she woke up the next morning. The two pillows she had placed between the beds were on the floor, and she had spent the entire night with her head resting on Wyatt's arm. What embarrassed her most was that when she opened her eyes, her hand and leg were draped over him, as if she were clinging to him for dear life. Cece slowly pulled her leg back, then looked up at Wyatt. He was still fast asleep, lying perfectly still, but his sleep was light, and he seemed to sense the absence of her leg. He rolled over, instinctively pulling her into his arms. Cece froze, her head now resting against his upper chest. With nowhere else to put it, her hand settled on his waist again. Thinking he was about to wake up, She squeezed her eyes shut. But a full 2 minutes passed, and Wyatt didn't make another move. She cautiously opened her eyes again. Just as she was trying to figure out how to escape his embrace, she felt something press against her leg. She froze for 2 seconds, then suddenly shoved him away, her face flushing as she scrambled out of bed and rushed into the bathroom. The commotion woke Wyatt up. He yawned, flexed his slightly numb arm, and then patted the pillow next to him. Finding it empty, he called out, "Cece? Cece, where are you?" Cece poked her head out of the bathroom, her face still red. Are you being a perv first thing in the morning?" Wyatt was completely baffled. "I was a perfect gentleman all night. I didn't do a thing. You can't just accuse me for no reason." He sat up in bed, about to speak, when he suddenly seemed to realize why she was yelling at him. He pulled a pillow over his lap and offered a shameless explanation. "It's a normal, biological phenomenon. You can't blame me for that." Slam. Cece shut the bathroom door. About 5 minutes later, she emerged. Wyatt was already dressed and up. He was picking up the pillows from the floor, a grin on his face. "Hey, I didn't throw these on the floor. You were thrashing around in your sleep and knocked them off. You're the one who doesn't sleep still. Don't believe me? I even recorded you talking in your sleep last night. Want to hear what you said? I can play it for you." "Wyatt, you're dead." Cece grabbed Wyatt's shoulder bag and lunged at him. Wyatt pretended to be terrified and took off running. Cece chased him relentlessly. "Get back here." After a bit of frantic chasing, Wyatt saw that Cece was out of breath. He stopped, sat down next to her, and laughed. Okay, I was just messing with you. Why would I actually record?" He didn't even get the word record out before Cece grabbed his hand and bit down hard. Hearing his yelp of pain, she finally let go. "Go wash up. You have to take me to school. I have a class this morning." Wyatt rubbed the bite mark. "All you do is bully me." "Who's bullying who?" "You're the one who's always bullying me." "Have I ever bitten you like this?" Wyatt grinned. "You bite me, I kiss you. That makes us even." The words were barely out of his mouth before he leaned toward her. Cece quickly covered his mouth with her hand, a look of disgust on her face. "Get away. You haven't brushed your teeth." "Then I'll go brush them now. Wait for me. I'll be quick." The second Wyatt stepped into the bathroom, Cece dug a face mask out of her bag and put it on. When he came out, she grabbed the key card and car keys and was already waiting for him in the hallway. Wyatt came out and stared at her, speechless. "Are you kidding me? You're playing me. Let's go, I'm going to be late." Wyatt had no choice but to follow. They took the elevator down to the parking garage. After Cece got into the passenger seat, Wyatt went on strike. He sat in the driver's seat, motionless, with no intention of starting the car. "Drive," she said. "Nope. I'm going to be late." "That's what you get for playing me." Wyatt adopted a stubborn, unbothered posture. Cece pinched, twisted, and scolded, but nothing worked. Finally, she took off the mask, tilted her head back, and said magnanimously, Fine. Kiss me. You're driving me crazy." Wyatt quickly closed the distance, pressing his lips to hers. Just a moment ago, Cece had been complaining, but now her mind went blank, all the strength draining from her body. "I'm going to be late." Wyatt said, "We have time." Wyatt said, "Why did you bite me again?" Cece said, "Because you kissed me for so long. Now drive." Wyatt said, "I told you, we have time." Cece said, Wyatt said, "Did Elaine Young tell you? She's picking us up on the 30th to go to the train station." Cece said, "She told me. I'll come find you beforehand." Wyatt said, "Do you have plans for fall break?" Cece said, "Just going to check on the boss lady's company. Nothing else." Wyatt said, "Then make sure you come find me. My parents are both home for the break. I'm scared I won't be able to handle them alone." Cece said, "Don't worry. I've got you." Monday was the 28th. That meant just 3 days of classes before the fall break. When Wyatt got back to campus, the company website was mostly finished. The homepage looked impressive, and after testing, all the functions worked without any issues. Wyatt had Chris hire 2 more people to manage the site, specifically to update and maintain the content. He also posted the Student Entrepreneurship Support Program on the site. But since the website was brand new and had no traffic, Wyatt planned to hold off on promoting the program until after the break. Other than company matters, everything was normal. The only thing worth mentioning was that Alex had asked to borrow money again. This time, he asked for a bit more, $300. Just like last time, Wyatt didn't ask any questions and just transferred it to him. Although Alex said he'd pay it back next month, Wyatt didn't give it much thought. He guessed the $300 would be spent on Lily. Even if Alex paid it back at the beginning of the month, he'd probably be asking for another loan by the end of it. They say you can forgive once, maybe twice, but not a third time. But Wyatt decided to give Alex 3 chances. When Alex came asking for a 4th time, Wyatt felt he would have a good reason to refuse him. The 3 days passed quickly. On the afternoon of the 30th, Wyatt packed his bags early, drove to pick up Leo, and then handed him the keys, having Leo drop him off at the Juilliard campus. Wyatt and Cece waited at the school until almost 5 o'clock when Elaine Young finally arrived. A friend of Elaine's was driving. He dropped the three of them off at the train station and left. They scanned their tickets, went through the gate, and, after waiting less than 15 minutes, they were on an Acela train back to Riverwood. As soon as she boarded, Cece started to feel drowsy. She leaned her head on Wyatt's shoulder and was asleep in minutes. Wyatt, meanwhile, was busy on his phone, sending messages to his company and classmate group chats. After he was done, he sent out a few digital red envelopes. As darkness fell, Wyatt tilted his head and drifted off to sleep as well. Sitting next to them, Elaine found the scene incredibly endearing. She sneakily took a couple of photos and sent them to Miranda. Miranda replied, asking for their arrival time. After a long hesitation, she finally sent a message to Charles. Miranda, Cece, Wyatt, and Elaine get into Riverwood at 10 tonight. Go pick them up. Charles, who was already in bed, shot upright when he saw the message. He hastily threw on some clothes, grabbed his car keys, and rushed to the train station. As the train neared the station, the quiet car began to fill with noise again. The sounds woke Wyatt and Cece. Wyatt rubbed his eyes, reached into Cece's bag for a pack of wet wipes, wiped his face, then opened another one and handed it to her. The display above the aisle now read, "Next stop, Riverwood." Wyatt glanced at his watch and asked with a smile, "Aunt Elaine, you'll be staying at Cece's house this time, right?" "Yes. It's been so long since I've seen your Aunt Miranda. We have a lot of catching up to do. When we were fresh out of college, we couldn't afford a big place, so we shared a bed for over half a year. Every time we've met up since, we end up sleeping in the same bed, talking late into the night." As Elaine spoke, she seemed to be lost in memories of her youth, a broad smile on her face. Wyatt chimed in, "We both have Lynn in your names. That's fate, isn't it? You have no idea. In college, our professors used to say we were like conjoined twins. We did everything together, eating, classes, sleeping. And Elaine, in that case, I have to give you a heads up about something." "What is it?" Wyatt smiled. "Not long ago, my uncle, that is, Cece's dad, asked Cece's mom about getting back together. You probably know what they're both like. The reason they haven't remarried after all this time is because they're both waiting for the other to give in first. My uncle is just too proud for his own good. It was a big deal for him to bring it up. And Elaine, since you'll be staying at their place for fall break, maybe you could put in a good word for him." Elaine laughed. "Why are you getting involved in this?" "It won't happen without me," Wyatt said. "Besides, I'm doing it for Cece, right?" Elaine glanced at Cece, who was still leaning against Wyatt, and finally agreed. "All right, I'll feel Miranda out first, see what she's really thinking. You two just worry about yourselves. You don't need to get involved in adult matters." Wyatt wrapped an arm around Cece and said shamelessly, "We're doing great." Cece shot him a dirty look, about to retort, when a text message came through on her phone. She looked at it and immediately exclaimed, "Dork, what's wrong?" "My dad's already waiting for us outside the station." "Your dad? Did you tell him we were arriving at this time?" "No." After a moment's thought, Wyatt grinned. "Then your mom must have sent him." Elaine was baffled. "Dork? Is that what young people call each other when they're in love?" They were only staying for a week, so besides Elaine's 20-inch carry-on, Wyatt and Cece hadn't packed much. The three of them got off the train and walked to the exit. It was already 10 o'clock at night. Aside from a group of unlicensed cab drivers shouting for customers, the station was quiet. Charles stood by the roadside, anxiously watching the waves of people pouring out of the exit. He had just pulled out his phone to text Cece when he saw three very familiar figures walking toward him. Charles hurried forward, intending to help with the luggage, but Cece didn't have a suitcase, and Wyatt was already holding Elaine's. Charles could only greet Elaine awkwardly. "Elaine, long time no see. Well, if it isn't President Sheen himself, here to pick me up. I'm so flattered. Don't make fun of me." After the four of them got in the car, Charles first drove Wyatt home, just as Miranda had specifically instructed. Then he headed for Maple Creek Estates. On the way, Charles initiated the conversation. "Are you back on vacation, or are you staying for good?" "I'm staying for good." "What about your job?" "I quit." "Quit?" Elaine nodded. "I'm tired. Dealing with foreigners all day isn't very interesting. I'm going to settle in New York from now on. I wish I had your courage." "Oh, stop it. How'd you end up coming back with Cece and that kid?" Elaine briefly explained what had happened, then added with a laugh, "When Miranda told me Cece had a boyfriend, I thought she was kidding. I couldn't imagine either of you would let her date so early. I never thought it was actually true." Charles immediately clarified his position. "I've always been against it, but Miranda is particularly fond of the kid. There's nothing I can do. That just means Miranda has better judgment than you. Wyatt is a much better catch than you ever were. Exactly, Cece chimed in out of nowhere. The comment sent Elaine into a fit of laughter, while Charles sat beside her, speechless as if he'd swallowed his tongue. It was already past 10:40 p.m. when the car arrived at Maple Creek Estates. Miranda greeted Elaine enthusiastically at the door and led her inside. The two friends, separated for so long, had a million things to say to each other. Cece got out of the car and followed them in with her bag. Charles had intended to go in and sit for a while, but seeing that Miranda was completely ignoring him and that it was getting late, he silently walked up, closed the yard gate, and drove back to his own place. Miranda, you haven't changed a bit. Don't be silly. My daughter's already so grown up. I'm old now. Look, I'm even getting wrinkles. How is work? Still busy. It's all right. I just can't get away. Not like you, be able to work from home. I've already quit. I'm planning to spend the next couple of months traveling around the country. I've earned enough money over the years. You're the one who really knows how to live. By the way, are you hungry? A little. Then I'll go make you a bowl of noodles. Elaine gratefully took Miranda's arm, resting her head on her shoulder. Miranda, it's so good to see you. I feel like I'm back in college again. Miranda smiled, then said to Cece, Cece, go upstairs and take a shower. Come down for noodles later. Okay. The nights in a small city weren't as bustling as in a big one. By 10 o'clock, most households had turned off their lights and gone to bed. Wyatt had taken his house keys with him when he left for the summer, so he didn't wake up his parents, David and Sarah, when he returned. He used his key to unlock the door, tiptoed into the living room, and used the light from his phone to navigate back to his bedroom. After a quick shower, he collapsed onto his bed. Wyatt made a voice call to Cece. Hey, are you home? Just got here. What about your dad? He left. Cece said, call me back in 20 minutes. I have to take a shower first. No way, let's video chat. In your dreams. Before Wyatt could say anything else, Cece hung up. Wyatt yawned. He didn't even last 10 minutes before he fell into a deep sleep. After Cece had showered and eaten her noodles, she went upstairs and sent Wyatt a message. When he didn't reply after a long time, she guessed the dork had already fallen asleep. She sent a good night, turned off her light, and quickly drifted into her own dreams. That night, back in their own homes, they both slept soundly. Knock, knock, knock. Early in the morning, a series of urgent knocks came from outside the bedroom door. David and Sarah were startled awake by the sound. The next second, Wyatt's voice rang out from the hallway. Mom, if you don't get up and make your son some food, he's going to starve to death. Sarah was still a bit dazed. Wyatt hadn't told her he was coming home for fall break. She had assumed he would be spending the 7-day holiday with his future daughter-in-law. David, however, heard the voice, rolled out of bed, and opened the door. Seeing Wyatt standing there, he said with a laugh, You brat, when did you get back? Last night. Last night. Sarah came out of the room, complaining, You come back without even giving us a heads up, always showing up in the middle of the night. Anyone would think you were a burglar. Wyatt pushed his mother toward the kitchen. Mom, stop nagging. I didn't eat last night, and my legs are weak from hunger. Please, be a dear and make your precious son something to eat. David, yeah, take the electric scooter and go buy some breakfast burritos from that place on the corner. And get a bowl of soup. Wyatt quickly added, Dad, no cilantro or onions in the soup, okay? David walked to the door, putting on his shoes and grumbling with a wry smile. When you're not home, it's just your mom bossing me around. Now that you're back, there's two of you. I must have really owed you two in a past life. My life is so hard. Hey, what are you muttering about so early in the morning? David gave a sheepish grin, grabbed the scooter key, and headed downstairs to the breakfast spot. Sarah didn't stay idle. She went into the kitchen, filled a pot with water, placed a steamer rack inside, and put in eggs, corn, and some sweet potatoes she'd brought from her parents' place. Only then did she go to the bathroom to wash up. Wyatt sat on the couch and replied to a couple of Cece's messages, explaining that he had been too tired and had fallen asleep as soon as he lay down. Cece, who had just woken up, quickly replied, I knew it. Cece, what are you doing today? Wyatt, I'm meeting the boss lady this morning to check out the company. Then lunch at home, and I'll head over to your place in the evening. Have our mom make something delicious. Cece, my mom is my mom. Who is our mom? Wyatt. If you're going to be like that, I might have to change my tune tonight. Cece, shameless. Wyatt, by the way, since your parents are both in Riverwood and on vacation, you should send your dad a message. Give him a chance to shine. Cece, a chance to shine? Wyatt, just tell him you're craving those breakfast burritos from downtown and ask him to bring some over. Cece instantly understood Wyatt's meaning and quickly replied, I'll text him right now. Throughout September, aside from sleeping, Vivian had been completely swamped with company matters. The office renovation was now complete, and a cleaning company had already sanitized and tested the new space twice. After fall break, they could finally move into the new office building. Vivian had planned to take a good rest during the holiday, but on the morning of the 1st, she received a call from Wyatt. Hearing his eagerness to see the company, Vivian laughed. "You just got home, and you're already this impatient?" "Hey, I'm his second largest shareholder, you know. I'll send you the address. Let's meet at the company at 9:30. No, I didn't bring my car back this time. If it's convenient, could you come pick me up? Then send me your address." Okay. Wyatt sent his address to Vivian. He waited at home until 9:15, when Vivian arrived at the community entrance. Wyatt hurried downstairs, saw her BMW, and immediately opened the door and got into the passenger seat. Vivian drove Wyatt to a tech industrial park. After parking the car, she led him to the 7th floor of Building A. This floor is about 16,000 square feet. It was originally meant for 2 companies, but the rent for office space in Riverwood isn't expensive, and with some government incentives for new businesses, I just went ahead and leased the whole floor. The elevator doors opened to reveal the company's entrance and reception desk. As Wyatt followed Vivian, he asked, how much did the renovation cost? About $10 a square foot, so around $150,000. And there's still a lot of stuff to buy. Vivian gave Wyatt a tour of the company, finally pointing to an office next to hers. "I've saved this office for you. It's not really decorated yet. If you want anything done with it, just let me know, and I'll have Hannah take care of it." Wyatt smiled. "Let's just leave it for now. I'm only here a few times a year." "Oh, by the way, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I might bring someone to visit the company during the break. Could you arrange for the employees to come in for a day and try to make the place look a bit more impressive?" Vivian was confused. "Who is it?" "A top-tier fashion designer. She's won all sorts of design awards and used to work for a major luxury brand abroad. She's seen it all, knows it all. I want to bring her here to give us some advice. You know someone like that? I'll be straight with you. She's Cece's mom's college roommate. She came back to Riverwood with me and Cece. If it weren't for that connection, I wouldn't be so sure I could get her to come." Vivian knew this was a rare opportunity and quickly nodded. "Then let's make it the 5th. I'll let everyone know in the company group chat, and we can decorate the office a bit. We should have enough time." "All right, that's settled then. Thanks for your hard work, boss lady. Now, could you give me a ride back?" "Why didn't you drive back? It's fall break. Do you know how bad the traffic is on the highway? A lot of my classmates are still stuck on the road." Wyatt then added with a grin, "It's fine. I'll be taking my mother-in-law's car tonight anyway. That'll give my father-in-law some opportunities." Wow, already calling the mother-in-law and father-in-law. "How far have you and Cece gone?" Vivian asked with a mischievous smile. "Have you two? You know, none of your business, single lady." "Wyatt," Vivian exclaimed, exasperated. "Get back here." Charles had been racking his brain all morning for an excuse to go to Maple Creek Estates. When he saw Cece's message, he immediately drove to the most reputable breakfast spot in Riverwood, waited in line for over 10 minutes, bought a whole batch of their famous breakfast burritos, and then happily drove toward Maple Creek Estates. Miranda and Elaine had talked until 1 or 2 in the morning and were enjoying a rare opportunity to sleep in. When Miranda came downstairs and saw that Cece was already up, she asked, "Cece, why are you up so early?" "I slept well last night, so I woke up early today." Seeing Elaine coming down from upstairs, Cece greeted her politely. "Good morning, Aunt Elaine." "Morning. What do you two want to eat? And just so you know, I can only make noodles or porridge. If you want anything else, I'll have to drive out and buy it." Cece quickly said, "I asked my dad to buy me breakfast burritos. He should be here any minute." Just as Miranda was about to speak, the doorbell rang. Speak of the devil. After Cece opened the door, Charles walked into the living room, carrying 2 bags of burritos. He greeted them cheerfully. "You haven't eaten yet, have you? These are fresh, still warm. You should try them." For Elaine's sake, Miranda didn't say much. She went into the kitchen, took out a large bottle of milk from the fridge, poured 3 glasses, then looked up at Charles and asked coldly, "Have you eaten?" Charles shook his head awkwardly. So, Miranda poured another glass of milk. Elaine saw everything. As soon as Miranda was back in the kitchen, she said with a smile, "President Sheen, what are you standing there for? Come and eat." Charles rubbed his hands together and walked over sheepishly, giving Cece a meaningful look as if to say, "See, kiddo, your dad is pretty reliable." Huh. Cece just pouted, thinking, what took you so long? During his lunch break, Wyatt received a call from Michael Zhao. Michael wanted Wyatt to find out if Isabel had any plans for fall break. If not, he wanted to ask her out. Wyatt retorted, "Can't you just ask her yourself?" Michael chuckled sheepishly. "It's just more convenient to ask you. Why are you being such a wimp? If you want to ask her out, just do it. The worst that can happen is she says no. You can't be worried about saving face and still expect to get a girlfriend. Spurred on by Wyatt's words, Michael steeled himself. You just wait. I'm texting her right now. Beep, beep, beep. After hanging up, Michael opened his chat with Isabel. After a moment of deliberation, he typed a line and sent it. Hey, what are you up to? Isabel was lounging on her plush sofa, a lollipop in her mouth. Seeing Michael's message, she quickly replied, watching a boring TV show. You didn't go out with your roommates for the break? Nope. Wyatt and Cece went home, and Ashley went home too. Leo took Sophie to the beach. I was bored by myself, so I came home too. Michael knew Isabel was from NYC, so he quickly sent an invitation. Do you want to go out with me? Isabel feigned modesty. Now? Michael, whenever you want. As long as you're free, I'm available. Isabel deliberately made him wait for 2 minutes before replying. Let's do it a little later then. Michael, great. Send me your location, and I'll drive over to pick you up. Isabel replied with a small okay emoji. Then, she took a screenshot of the chat and sent it to Wyatt, as if showing off. Wyatt, don't you think I'm just too charming? This Michael guy is asking me out again. Wyatt glanced at it and laughed. You're more of a fox than Delilah. What guy wouldn't be mesmerized by you? Isabel, I even went to his company last week. If I go a few more times, do you think everyone there will assume I'm his girlfriend? Wyatt, I'd advise against that. Isabel, why? Wyatt explained with a laugh. You might get past Michael, but you won't necessarily get past his uncle. A business tycoon like him is a whole different beast. He can see right through people. If I'm not mistaken, his uncle probably already knows about you. After listening to the voice message, Isabel sat up straight on the sofa. What should I do then? Wyatt, so you have to take it easy. Don't overdo it. Be a little bad at the right moments, and Michael might not be able to handle it. You know what I mean? Isabel, got it. Isabel quickly asked another question. By the way, he's asking me out this afternoon. He'll definitely drive me home tonight. Do you think I should let him come up for a bit? Wyatt, that's for you to decide. Don't ask me. Just after he replied, a message from Michael came in. Wyatt, you told me last time that Isabel's parents are usually in Australia, right? Does that mean she lives alone? Wyatt, I think so. Michael, so, do you think it would be too forward if I went up to her place for a drink of water when I drop her off tonight? Wyatt, that's for you to decide. Don't ask me. Wyatt spent the afternoon at home with his parents. Around 4 o'clock, he went downstairs, called a rideshare, and headed to Maple Creek Estates. Seeing Charles's car still parked at the entrance, Wyatt guessed he had been hanging around all day. The gate was ajar, so Wyatt walked right in. Wyatt, you're here, yep. Wyatt skillfully found a pair of slippers in the shoe cabinet, changed into them, and walked toward the sofa. He looked down and saw Miranda, Elaine, and Cece huddled together, looking at old photos. Wyatt patted Cece on the thigh and sat down between her and Miranda. He leaned forward, looking at a very old-looking photo in the album. Annie, when was this picture taken? 1995. You look so young. Cece pinched Wyatt's side, completely exasperated. 20 years ago my mom was in her 20s. Of course she was young. Wyatt chuckled. I think you look more like your mom. The eyes, nose, mouth, they're all similar. The moment Wyatt sat down on the sofa, Charles started to feel annoyed. Elaine, Miranda, and Cece were on the long sofa, while he was sitting alone on the single armchair. He had been coveting the spot between Miranda and Cece for a long time, and now Wyatt had just waltzed in and sat right down between his wife and daughter, taking the very seat he wanted most. After hearing Wyatt's comment, he immediately said, when Cece was just born, everyone said she looked more like me. Is that so? Wyatt spread his arms, casually draping one hand over his mother-in-law's shoulder and the other around Cece. He asked shamelessly, Aunt Elaine, don't you think Cece looks more like my Annie here? Elaine glanced at the hand Wyatt had placed on Miranda's shoulder, thinking, this little guy really doesn't see himself as an outsider, does he? But she said with a smile, when Miranda was young, she looked very similar to how Cece looks now. If anyone else had put his arms around his wife and daughter, Charles would have charged over and beaten him to a pulp. But now, he was powerless against Wyatt. He could only glare at him, his eyes threatening. You better take your hands off them. Wyatt was just deliberately trying to establish his position in the family in front of his future father-in-law. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, he quickly removed his hands and said to Cece, I'm dying of thirst. Go get me a glass of water. Hey, how dare you order my daughter around? Fortunately, Cece didn't obey. She just shot him a look and said, there's lemonade in the fridge. Get it yourself. Wyatt trotted off to the kitchen. Wyatt, you're staying for dinner with us tonight, okay? Sure. Wyatt, pouring himself a glass of lemonade, added, by the way, Auntie, can I borrow your car for a few days? It's really inconvenient without one. Before Miranda could even agree, Cece picked up the car keys from the coffee table. Here, take the keys. Seeing this, Miranda smiled and closed the photo album. Charles lowered his head and sighed deeply. Elaine, as an outsider, took it all in and chuckled to herself. Having one more person in this house certainly makes things more interesting than before. So, is the lemonade good? I made it, you know. It's a little bitter. How could it be? If you don't believe me, try it yourself. Cece took the glass from Wyatt, took a sip, and frowned. It wasn't bitter when I drank it earlier. You didn't take the seeds out of the lemons. They get bitter if they soak for too long. Oh, is that it? It's fine. As long as you made it, I'll drink it even if it's bitter. Just don't poison me. If you say one more thing, I'm going to hit you. That night, on the 88th floor observation deck of the Gmao Tower in New York City, a group of young men and women were busy taking pictures of the sprawling city lights beyond the glass walls. After taking several landscape shots, Isabel suddenly turned to Michael, who was standing behind her. Can you take a few pictures of me? Michael gladly agreed. He took her phone and started looking for the best angle. After striking a pose, Isabel remembered to add, Could you crouch down, take it? It'll make me look taller. You got it. Michael actually crouched down. He was surprised to find that shooting from that angle really did make her legs look longer. Taking advantage of a moment when no one was walking by, he snapped more than a dozen photos in quick succession. He then handed the phone back to Isabel. See what you think. If they're not good, I'll retake them. They're great. Upon hearing this, Michael quickly pulled out the latest iPhone from his pocket. How about we take a couple more with my phone? The camera on the new one should be a little better. Sure, Isabel immediately struck another pose that was both flattering and natural. Michael took a flurry of pictures, sent a few to Isabel, and saved all of them to his own phone's photo album. Should we head down? Okay. They took the elevator down from the tower and walked to the central green space in Bryant Park, finding an outdoor cafe to sit at. The scenery was lovely, with elegant lighting and pleasant music. After sitting down, it felt as if time had slowed. Michael took a sip of his coffee and initiated a conversation. Are your parents in Australia all the time? Before I started college, my mom was here with me. After I started living at the dorms, she went to Australia to be with my dad. They only come back for the holidays. Do you ever feel lonely? It's okay. I'm at school most of the time. Right. Seeing the awkward smile on Michael's face, Isabel realized he was trying to use this topic to express his feelings for her. She suddenly regretted answering so quickly. But Michael wasn't about to give up. He believed that expressing interest was different from a full-blown confession. Expressing interest was telling someone, I like you, I want to pursue you. A confession was, I like you. Will you be with me? The former was just stating his intentions. The latter was asking for an agreement. Michael thought that the fact Isabel was willing to be out with him alone at this time meant she wasn't opposed to him. So, he started composing his words in his head. He was trying to figure out the best way to say it. Just as he was hesitating, a little girl about 10 years old appeared in his line of sight. His gaze fell on the basket of flowers on her back. After a moment's thought, he snapped his fingers at the girl. When she turned around, he beckoned her over. The little girl wasn't from a poor family selling flowers to make ends meet. On the contrary, judging by her clothes, her family seemed well off. Michael guessed her parents were having her do this to build her confidence. Mister, would you like to buy a flower? The little girl had a chubby, cute, oval-shaped face. Michael smiled. Don't call me mister. Call me Big Brother. The little girl was very obedient and quickly called him Big Brother. Michael then pointed to Isabel. Call her Big Sister. Big Sister. Isabel reached out and pinched the little girl's chubby cheek, asking with a smile, Why are you selling flowers all by yourself? Where are your parents? The little girl pointed to a spot not far away, where a young couple was watching them with smiles. Michael quickly asked, Little miss, how much are the roses? $5 each. Michael smiled. Then I'll buy 9. The little girl lowered her head and started counting out the roses. After counting 9, as if to be sure, she counted them again on her fingers. This made Michael and Isabel laugh. Here you go, Big Brother. Michael took the flowers and pulled out his wallet. He found a $50 bill and handed it to the little girl. $5 a flower. So how much for 9 flowers? $45. So smart. Michael smiled. Here's 50. You can keep the change. The little girl quickly shook her head. No. My mom said I can't take advantage of people. The little girl dug through her pockets, found a crumpled $5 bill, and handed it to Michael. Michael took it, and only then did the little girl happily turn and walk away. Watching her run back to her parents, Michael picked up the 9 roses from the table and handed them to Isabel. For you. Thank you. I don't know if this will sound too sudden, but there's something I've wanted to say for a while. The first time we met, I thought you were a really great person. And it just so happened that our outfits were very similar that day. I think that's fate. So, what I'm trying to say is, I'm quite fond of you. If you don't mind, can I pursue you? Isabel stared at Michael, a look of complete surprise on her face. After a long moment, she broke his gaze and nervously lifted her coffee to take a sip. Michael was dying of anxiety, but Isabel remained silent. After several minutes, she lowered her head, looked at the roses on the table, and said shyly, Can I think about it overnight and give you an answer tomorrow? Okay. Michael was afraid of being rejected, so he readily agreed. Thinking about it meant there was a chance. And seeing how nervous and shy Isabel seemed, Michael was more than 80% sure she would say yes. He had no idea that Isabel was thinking to herself, You little thing, I've already got you hooked. As everyone knows, when a fish is on the hook, you can't just yank it ashore. That risks breaking a line. A master angler will let the fish run for a while, tire it out, and then pull it in. That way, they maintain control from start to finish. The flowers are beautiful. I'm glad you like them. Michael picked up his phone from the table. How about you hold the flowers, and I'll take a picture of you? Okay. Michael held up his phone and quickly took another picture of Isabel. He sent it to her first, then secretly sent one to Wyatt with the caption, Haha, your boy has sealed the deal. Outside the same cafe, Lily sat down and immediately noticed the roses in Isabel's hand. Seeing Michael taking pictures of Isabel, she called out to Alex with a hint of jealousy. When Alex looked up, Lily pointed at Isabel and pouted. I want roses too. Alex glanced over, but from his position, he could only see Isabel's back. However, after seeing the roses, he quickly smiled. You wait here. I'll go buy you some. I want 9 too. Okay. On the afternoon of the second day of fall break, Miranda took Elaine out shopping. Since Wyatt had taken a car, she had to call Charles to be their driver. Cece, finding shopping boring, didn't go with them. But after being home alone for a short while, she started to feel bored. Lying on the sofa, she sent a message to Wyatt. Dork, what are you doing? Wyatt replied quickly. Nothing. Just watching the History Channel with my dad. I'm so bored. Your parents and Aunt Elaine are home. And you're still bored? They went out. Your parents aren't home? Nope. After Cece replied, she saw that Wyatt hadn't responded for 2 minutes. She quickly asked, Where'd he go? Wyatt, sitting in his car and buckling his seatbelt, sent a reply. Get cleaned up and wait for me. I'm on my way. When Cece saw the message, she immediately placed her phone on her flat stomach, hugged a throw pillow, and started rolling around on the sofa. She didn't know when it started, but every time Wyatt hinted at getting up to no good, she would not only get nervous, but also feel a tiny sliver of anticipation. Wyatt had driven the route from his house to Maple Creek Estates countless times. He quickly arrived in Miranda's car and rang the doorbell twice. Cece, just as quickly, ran into the yard. She deliberately didn't open the gate and called out loudly, Who's out there? Your boyfriend. Cece replied playfully, Then you have the wrong place. I don't have a boyfriend. Oh, so you're going to be like that? If you don't open this gate, I'm climbing the wall. Didn't you see the anti-theft spikes on the wall? Cece giggled. I'll ask you one more time. If you say you're a dork, I'll let you in. She cleared her throat and asked again, Who's out there? Your man. Cece pouted. Even though Wyatt didn't follow her script, she still opened the gate. As Wyatt walked in, he kicked the gate shut with his right foot. Seeing the mischievous grin on Wyatt's face, Cece knew she was in trouble. She quickly turned to run back into the house, but Wyatt strode forward and scooped her up in his arms. Let me go. If you don't let me go, I'll scream. Go ahead and scream. No one's going to come and save you. Wyatt held her facing him, his hands supporting her bottom. Cece instinctively wrapped her legs around his waist and her arms around his neck, afraid of falling. Once they were in the living room, Cece's bravado vanished. She rested her head on his shoulder and whispered, Put me down. Wyatt carried her to the sofa and sat down, with Cece sitting face-to-face on his lap. The atmosphere immediately turned intimate. Wyatt brushed the stray hairs from her forehead, gently pinched her soft earlobe, then placed his palm on her hot cheek. He asked knowingly, Why is your face so hot? Cece balled up her fist and lightly punched his chest. Just as she was about to get off his lap, Wyatt grabbed her hand. Just one kiss. One kiss, and I'll let you go. Don't you know my house has security cameras? Your mom is out shopping. She doesn't have time to watch the cameras. Cece thought that made sense. She also knew that there was no escaping this kiss today. So, she put on a look of someone facing their doom and said, Go ahead. Wyatt smiled. It's always me kissing you. Today, you have to kiss me. Cece was too shy to take the initiative. But seeing Wyatt's determined look, she quickly thought of a plan. She covered his eyes with her hand, then leaned in as if to hide her own actions. The moment her soft lips touched his, Wyatt's hands, which were around her waist, instinctively tightened. She blinked, her long eyelashes fluttering. When she realized that the big creep Wyatt's hand had already snuck under her shirt while kissing her, Cece quickly broke away from the battle. Red-faced, she whispered, "Take your hand out. This hand has a mind of its own. Then I'm not kissing you." Wyatt quickly raised both of his mischievous hands and said with a smile, "All right, they're out. Let's continue." Before Cece could even agree, Wyatt kissed her again. Meanwhile, in a large shopping mall, Miranda and Elaine were browsing in a clothing store, while Charles sat patiently in the rest area by the entrance. "Miranda, look at this. Wouldn't Cece look great in this?" "It's nice, but I'm not sure if Cece will like the color. Why don't you video call her and ask? If she likes it, we could just buy it for her." "I don't know if she's sleeping." Miranda took out her phone. "I'll check the security cameras at home. If she's not on the first floor, she must still be sleeping upstairs." As she spoke, Miranda opened the home security app. Elaine leaned in to look. The moment the camera feed opened, they saw Cece covering Wyatt's eyes and leaning in to kiss him. Miranda froze. Elaine's eyes widened. "Wait, is this how young people date now? Are you two almost done?" "You've been in one store for half an hour," Charles called out, having sat for a long time and seeing Miranda and Elaine just standing there. Miranda snapped back to reality and quickly turned off her phone. Elaine took Miranda's arm and whispered with a smile, "From the looks of it, this isn't their first time. Let's just pretend we didn't see anything." "When did Wyatt and our Cece meet?" "During the summer, after their SATs. It's only been a little over a year, and they're already at this stage?" Miranda put her phone back in her bag, found a sales assistant, and pointed to the outfit they had been looking at. "Please wrap this up for me." Back at the villa, after their intimate exchange, the two sat with their heads resting against each other, watching the hit TV show Game of Thrones. But Wyatt had seen the show more than once and remembered all the plot points. Before the first episode was even over, he had closed his eyes and fallen asleep. Seeing that Wyatt hadn't moved for a long time, Cece gently nudged him with her shoulder. To her surprise, Wyatt simply slumped over on the sofa. Cece quickly supported his head and carefully placed it on her lap. She picked up the remote, turned down the TV volume, and managed to watch for another half an episode before she too succumbed to sleep. The sun sank behind the mountains, setting the western clouds ablaze. The evening breeze rustled the soon-to-be-red maple leaves by the roadside. Summer had quietly passed, and without realizing it, autumn had arrived. Seeing her car parked outside, Miranda knew Wyatt hadn't left yet. She took the keys from her bag, opened the gate, and walked to the living room door with her shopping bags. Pushing the door open, Miranda's eyes immediately fell on Wyatt and Cece on the sofa. She turned to Charles and Elaine, made a shushing gesture, and then quietly slipped inside. Elaine followed, her gaze also landing on the two on the sofa. Charles, the last to enter, saw Wyatt sleeping on his precious daughter's lap, and his blood pressure skyrocketed. "This is a travesty." Miranda placed the things she bought on the carpet, picked up the remote to turn off the TV, and then carried a bag of groceries that needed to be refrigerated into the kitchen. At that moment, Charles deliberately asked in a loud voice, "Is there still stuff in the car we need to bring in?" Before Miranda could answer, Cece was startled awake. Opening her eyes to see her father and Aunt Elaine staring at her, she jumped, quickly patting Wyatt's face to wake him up. Charles glared at Wyatt, his eyes practically shooting fire. Beside him, Elaine saw Charles's expression and chuckled to herself. "President Sheen, you can't handle this? It's a good thing you didn't see the security footage from this afternoon, otherwise." "Huh." Wyatt rubbed his eyes and sat up. With his thick skin, he naturally wasn't as embarrassed as Cece. Instead, he rubbed his stomach and called out to his mother-in-law in the kitchen, "Auntie, I'm staying for dinner tonight." "Hungry, are we?" Miranda smiled. "There's cheesecake on the coffee table. You two can have some to tide you over." "Okay." Dinner was noodles, personally cooked by Miranda, but because they didn't usually have so many people at home, she misjudged the portion size. In the end, there were only 4 bowls of noodles. As Miranda brought the bowls to the table one by one, Charles went into the kitchen, saw the empty pot, and quickly asked, "Where's mine?" Miranda wiped her hands and said, "I didn't make enough. You can just have the broth." "What?" Charles's eyes widened. "So you all get noodles, and I just get broth?" Wyatt felt a little bad. He smiled and said, "It's fine to eat a little less at night. We can each share some, and there'll be enough for another bowl." "Cece, go get another bowl." Cece quickly got an empty bowl from the kitchen. Wyatt led the way, scooping some of his noodles into it. Cece followed suit, and Miranda and Elaine also contributed a portion. Seeing Charles standing there sulking, Miranda lost her temper first. "Are you going to eat it or not? If not, then get out. Stop being an eyesore." Charles grabbed a pair of chopsticks and meekly sat down at the table. "Aunt Elaine, can I talk to you about something?" Elaine put down her chopsticks and looked up. "What is it? If you're free on the 5th, could you come with me to Vivian's company? We're planning to expand, and we'd like to get some advice from someone who knows the business." Elaine asked with interest, "How much of a stake do you have in this company?" 33%. "I'm his second largest shareholder." "What's your relationship with the owner of this company?" Before Wyatt could answer, Cece chimed in. He worked part-time at a lounge after his SATs. The owner of the lingerie brand was his boss there. "My mom knows her too." Miranda, hearing this, answered for Elaine. "I'm free on the 5th too. I'll go with you. I've heard you mention that brand, Vivian's Secret, quite a bit recently. The idea of using influencers to promote it, who came up with that?" "That was me," Wyatt admitted honestly. At this point in time, influencer marketing wasn't yet a widespread phenomenon, so the brand had capitalized on an early wave of internet popularity. Miranda smiled with satisfaction. "That's a very successful marketing case. You did a great job." "To be honest, I didn't expect it to be this successful. My initial idea was to focus on the niche market of lingerie, where there's less competition, making it easier to break in. Later, when sales were good, we added a swimwear line. After the influencer promotion this summer, store sales were even higher. I really didn't expect it to go so smoothly." When talking about work, Wyatt became very serious. He continued, "Since we've had such a good start, I was thinking about changing our strategy and expanding the production line further, creating a high-end line under the brand. I feel that by just focusing on affordable products, even if they sell well, it's hard to build brand value." Elaine said, "Your thinking is correct. I'll go with you the day after tomorrow and take a look." "Great." Seeing that they were done talking, Cece picked up the fried egg from the bottom of her bowl and smoothly placed it in Wyatt's bowl. Miranda pretended not to see and turned her attention to Wyatt's investment company. "Wyatt, how's your investment company doing now?" "We invested in another project in September, a joint investment with Apex Capital. It's called Inc. Live, a company based in Austin. And at the end of September, I received the third-quarter revenue report from MiHoYo. Based on the revenue from the first 3 quarters, their total revenue this year is projected to reach about $28 million, with a net profit possibly exceeding $19 million. They'll have their first round of dividends at the end of the year, but it will only be a small portion. They need the majority of it to develop their next game, which should be released around this time next year." Wyatt smiled. "Oh, right, my company's website is online now. You can find it by searching for C. Investments. After fall break, I plan to launch a student entrepreneurship support program specifically to invest in student-led startups. Hopefully, everything will go smoothly." After hearing this, Elaine finally understood why Miranda liked Wyatt so much. What mother-in-law wouldn't love such a promising son-in-law? Elaine looked up at Charles and thought, with a secret smile, "President Sheen, now I know why you're not so popular at home. Because without comparison, there is no harm." After everyone had finished eating, Miranda suggested, "Let's go for a walk. It's really nice outside at this time." "Good idea." Miranda stood up, then said to Charles in a commanding tone, "You stay here and do the dishes." It was 6:30. The streetlights were on, and the sky was a dusky mix of light and dark. Wyatt and Cece walked ahead, while Miranda and Elaine followed at a slower pace. Watching the two young people's backs, Elaine whispered with a smile, "If they keep going like this, I reckon you'll be a grandmother soon." "I don't think so." Wyatt knows his limits. "Have you met his parents?" "Not yet. I thought your families had already met." "You mentioning that reminds me. Wyatt is always at our house. I should talk to Cece about having her meet his parents too." "Cece isn't as thick-skinned as Wyatt. She'll definitely be too shy. She'll have to meet them sooner or later." "Dork. What? Will you teach me how to ride an electric scooter tomorrow?" "You just learned how to ride a bike." "Exactly. So now I want to learn how to ride a scooter." "Teaching you to ride a bike made me sweat buckets. You're so clumsy. You should just focus on getting steady on the bike first. You're the clumsy one." Cece lifted her foot to stomp on Wyatt's, but he was too quick and dodged it. "Why do you get so angry at the drop of a hat now? Get lost." "I'm not talking to you." "Why are you walking so fast?" "I'm talking to you." Seeing that Cece was ignoring him and walking quickly ahead, Wyatt deliberately matched her pace and called out in a cadence, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, like a drill sergeant leading troops. Cece's defenses crumbled. She stomped her foot and stopped. Wyatt immediately shouted, "Halt! Wyatt, you're dead." Cece cracked her knuckles and ran toward him. Seeing that things were about to get ugly, Wyatt also took off running. The two of them were soon chasing each other up ahead. Miranda and Elaine watched from a distance, their faces full of fond, motherly smiles. On the 5th of October, a light rain began to fall. Waking up and opening the window, you could feel a cool breeze. Wyatt pulled a striped button down from his closet, put on over his t-shirt, and swapped his pajama shorts for a pair of faded blue jeans. While eating breakfast, Wyatt called Vivian. Vivian, already on the road, answered directly. I'm on my way. What time will you guys get there? Wyatt said, I'm leaving now. I should be there in about an hour. All right, I'll wait for you at the company. Okay, see you then. Bye. He wolfed down his breakfast in a few bites, put on his shoes, and hurried downstairs. Sarah, mopping the floor, started complaining. David, look at your son. He's been on break for days, and besides sleeping here at night, he spends all day at his girlfriend's house. Don't you think we're raising a son for someone else? If you'd said that a few years ago, I might have tried to have a second child with you. Now, you'll just have to accept your fate. You useless thing. Lift your legs. David quickly lifted his legs. Sarah vigorously mopped under his feet a couple of times, then ordered, go hang the clothes from the washing machine. You do nothing all day but stare at your phone. I must have had the worst luck to marry you. One old bastard, one young bastard, both of you just know how to make me angry. Wyatt drove to Maple Creek Estates. Miranda, Elaine, and Cece were already waiting for him. Just then, the rain stopped. Wyatt waved them into the car and drove nonstop to Riverwoods Tech Innovation Park. 20 minutes later, Mr. Wyatt, you're here. Hannah was the one who opened the door to greet him. Since the company's performance had improved, her salary had also increased twice. The money she took home each month was now much more than what she earned as a cashier at the lounge. She was all smiles every day at work. Wyatt deliberately teased her. What are you smiling about? Be serious during work hours. Get out of here. Hannah wasn't falling for it. Where's the boss lady? She's been waiting in her office. Wyatt led the group toward Vivian's office. The last time he was here, the office was empty. But today, not only were all the employees present, but the walls were also adorned with decorative graphics and slogans. The most eye-catching feature was a 100-inch screen on the wall displaying the current month's sales data. Wyatt quickly scanned the office. There were many more employees than at the factory. There were departments for customer service, procurement, operations, design, warehousing, and even a business development department. The largest departments were customer service and operations, but customer service had two shifts, one from 9 to 5 and another from 5 in the afternoon until midnight. Today was a special day, so Vivian had called everyone in. The company now looked like it was starting to take shape. Wyatt knocked and entered Vivian's office. Vivian immediately came forward to shake hands with Miranda and Elaine, then invited them to sit down. As she made tea, Vivian said, the office was just renovated at the end of last month, so there are still many things that aren't quite right. I hope you don't mind. To be able to build a company like this all by yourself is already very impressive. Vivian smiled. I'm just figuring it out as I go. Wyatt has given me a lot of ideas. Elaine took the teacup from Vivian and said with interest, I'd like to see the design drawings for all your current products. You have the blueprints, right? As a designer, Elaine was most interested in the clothes themselves. But Vivian was in a bit of a bind. The company's main products were lingerie. She felt a little embarrassed showing her designs to others. She subconsciously glanced at Wyatt. He immediately understood what she was thinking, but he said openly, My Aunt Elaine has seen it all. Just show her. Only then did Vivian get up and bring over an iPad. She found the initial design sketches in her photo album and handed it to Elaine. It was a good thing Elaine was so experienced. Otherwise, seeing these designs filled with sensual appeal would have made anyone feel awkward. Cece just peeked over, then meekly sat back down next to Wyatt. Elaine looked through the later designs and asked with interest, Did you design all of these yourself? I mostly find inspiration by searching for pictures online. After I draw the first draft, I let Wyatt take a look and see what needs to be changed. Basically, all the designs you see here have been revised 2 or 3 times. Vivian pointed to a design on the iPad. For example, on this one, the pearls here and the lace part here, he was the one who told me to add them. Elaine looked up at Wyatt. He stared intently at his own nose, as if the matter had nothing to do with him. After looking for a while, Elaine handed the iPad back to Vivian. She took a sip of tea and said, So you're thinking of using your current momentum to expand into other categories? That's the idea. I think you should split them up. Create a new brand for the high-end line. Vivian's secret can continue with the affordable route. Wyatt said, Then the new brand would have to start from scratch. Vivian sighed. That's not the biggest problem. The issue is with design. The 2 designers I hired are recent college graduates. They're fine for designing lingerie and swimwear, which are pretty similar. But if we go for a high-end line, the design is crucial. Riverwood is a small city, and the resources in this area are very limited. Wyatt immediately picked up on Vivian's point and said with a smile, That's why I brought Aunt Elaine here today. She's an expert in this field. She definitely has the resources. So you were setting a trap for me here. Elaine didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she said with a smile, I do know a lot of well-known designers, but their salaries are not low. Before Vivian could speak, Wyatt said, you have to spend money to make money. As long as they have the ability, money is not an issue. Vivian nodded in agreement. That's what I think too. Then I'll keep an eye out for you and see if I can find anyone suitable. It was almost 11 o'clock by the time they left the company. On the road, Wyatt received a call from his mom. Since he was driving, he couldn't answer. Cece, in the passenger seat, saw it, answered the call for him, and held the phone to his ear. Sarah, are you coming home for lunch? If so, I'll make more rice. Wyatt. Before Wyatt could answer, his mom started complaining on the other end of the line. All you do is hang out at your mother-in-law's house. You never even bring Cece home for a meal. You ungrateful little. Wyatt tilted his head away from the phone, then said to Cece with a grin, my mom says I spend all my time at your house, and now she wants me to bring you home for lunch. Do you want to go? Cece immediately tensed up. Sitting in the back, Miranda answered for her. Go. You should. Wyatt quickly said with a smile. Then you tell my mom yourself. Cece put the phone to her ear and politely said, Auntie. Sarah, who had just been calling Wyatt ungrateful, immediately changed her tone, which became very gentle. Oh, Cece, it's settled then. Come over for lunch. I'll be waiting for you at home. Okay, we'll be right over. Great. See you in a bit. Bye-bye. Wyatt first dropped Miranda and Elaine off at Maple Creek Estates, then drove Cece to his own home. Strictly speaking, this was Cece's second time at Wyatt's house. The first time, she had been tricked into coming, and to make matters worse, his parents had walked in on them while he was bullying her. Every time Cece thought about that day, she would flush with embarrassment. So this time, she was even more nervous. The first visit was an accident. This one was official. On the way, Cece remembered something. Dork, shouldn't I have bought something to bring to your house? Nah, don't worry about it. I never bring anything when I go to your place. Are you sure? Positive. Okay. Cece sighed. As they got closer to Wyatt's neighborhood, her heart began to pound. She started rehearsing potential scenarios in her head. Wyatt didn't disturb her, driving straight to the building. After they got out, he took her hand and led her upstairs. Hello, Uncle. Hello, Annie. Hello, Uncle. Hello, Annie. Cece repeated the words silently in her mind. When they reached his front door, Wyatt knocked twice hard. Sarah, who was busy in the kitchen, immediately stopped what she was doing and dragged David to the door with her. The moment they opened it, Cece quickly bowed twice, first saying to Sarah, hello, Uncle, and then to David, hello. When Cece realized her mistake, her fair-skinned face instantly turned beet red. Art, I'm so stupid. Sarah didn't mind at all. She took Cece's hand and pulled her into the living room, her face beaming. Come in, come in. The food is almost ready. You two sit down for a bit. Wyatt walked in and took a look around. Well. The floor tiles were polished to a mirror shine. The usual throw blanket on the sofa was gone, and the coffee table was laden with all kinds of fruit. Peaches, plums, grapes, cantaloupe, cherry tomatoes. He never got this kind of treatment when he came home. Wyatt led Cece to the sofa. David, a man of few words, just smiled and said, Don't be nervous, sweetie. Just make yourself at home. Before returning to the kitchen to help, Wyatt grabbed a few cherry tomatoes, ate a couple himself, then held one up to Cece's mouth. Cece glanced toward the kitchen. Seeing that his parents were busy, she opened her mouth and ate it. Then she leaned close to Wyatt's ear and whispered, Should I go help in the kitchen? The kitchen's too small. It's crowded enough with 2 people. Don't worry about it. They sat in the living room, whispering to each other. After Sarah had cooked up a feast, she called Cece over to eat. She piled Cece's bowl high with rice. Just as she was about to hand it to her, Wyatt stopped her. Mom, are you trying to feed a pig? She can't eat this much. Sarah shot him a look. Watch your mouth. Wyatt ignored her, took the bowl, and poured half of the rice into his own bowl before giving it to Cece. Go on, try your auntie's cooking. Eat up, don't be shy. Okay. Cece never had a big appetite. She always left a little food behind at the cafeteria. If Wyatt wasn't there, she would just throw it away. If he was, she would give him some beforehand. Try this shrimp. It was still alive when I bought it. This is Wyatt's favorite sweet and sour pork. See if you like it. And this crispy fried pork. Soon, Cece's bowl was a mountain of food. Knowing she couldn't finish it all, she tugged on Wyatt's sleeve onto the table. Wyatt looked up, met her eyes, and immediately used his chopsticks to move the pile of food from her bowl to his, saying, Mom, Cece's not a 3-year-old. You don't need to serve her. She can't eat this much. Sarah smiled, realizing she had gotten a little carried away with her excitement, and stopped piling food onto her plate. When are you two going back to school? The day after tomorrow, in the morning. Our train is at 9:40. Sweetie, if you run into any trouble at school, just tell Wyatt. He should take care of you. If he bullies you, you tell me, and I'll break his legs. Okay. And another thing, men get up to no good when they have money. I know he's made a little money from his business in college. You need to keep an eye on him. If he picks up any bad habits, you let me know right away, and I'll skin him alive. Cece looked up at Wyatt and couldn't help but giggle. Wyatt couldn't take it anymore. Mom, I finally bring Cece home, and you're talking about breaking my legs and skinning me alive. Do you think I'll ever dare to bring her back again? David chimed in, don't push your luck. It's a miracle Cece even likes you. You're lazy and you have a big mouth. Wyatt rolled his eyes, silently finished his food, and then went to sprawl on the sofa. Cece soon followed him. Sarah, clearing the table, said, it rained a little this morning, and now that the sun's out, it's getting stuffy in here. If you're hot sitting out here, you can go to the bedroom and turn on the AC. Got it. The couple finished the dishes in the kitchen. Sarah saw Wyatt and Cece sitting silently on the sofa and shot David a look. David, let's go for a walk. Where to? Shopping. Shopping the middle of the day. Just come on. Stop asking so many questions. David was dragged outside by Sarah in a daze. After closing the door, Sarah started lecturing him. I swear, you have no social awareness at all. Can't you see they're too shy to talk with us in the house? Aren't you afraid your son will get up to no good? Sarah thought for a moment, then quickly took out her phone and sent Wyatt a message. Wyatt, I'm warning you. No funny business at home. Wyatt saw the message and laughed. He showed his phone to Cece. She glanced at it and huffed. See? Even your mom knows you're a creep. Let's not sit here. Come to my room. What for? After a full meal, don't you need a good nap? I'm not going. Come on. No. In my house, you don't get to make the rules. Wyatt scooped Cece up from the sofa in a princess carry. She immediately started pummeling his chest with her small fists, kicking her legs, and protesting. If you don't put me down, I'm telling your mom. Wyatt carried her to his room, tossed her onto the bed, and then pulled the belt from his waist. He folded it in half and snapped it, creating a sharp crack. Say, I was wrong. Under Wyatt's tyrannical pressure, Cece obediently said, I was wrong. Call me sir. Cece blinked. Sir, call me husband. I won't. Then I'm taking my clothes off. Cece quickly hugged her knees, looked up at Wyatt with a pitiful expression, and whispered in a soft, delicate voice, Who? Husband Wyatt's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't the first time Cece had been on Wyatt's bed. It wasn't as soft as her own, but the pillow and comforter carried the faint, pleasant scent of soap. When she saw the shameless look on Wyatt's face, she quickly pulled the comforter over herself. Don't you dare try anything, she said, her voice a weak protest. Your parents will be back any minute. Wyatt didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If I was going to try anything, I would have done it a long time ago. You think I could have held back this long? Now scoot over and make some room. Cece mumbled an oh and shifted her hips, clearing half the bed. Wyatt took off the button-down shirt he was wearing and tossed it onto a hanger in the corner before lying down next to her. Seeing that he didn't seem intent on getting handsy, Cece relaxed. She stretched out her legs, lying flat on her back, and started a conversation. Your parents have a really great relationship. How can you tell? When your mom was cooking, your dad was in the kitchen helping chop vegetables. And when she was washing the dishes, he was right there cleaning up next to her. If that were my dad, he'd just be sitting on the sidelines, watching. Wyatt smiled. My mom might boss my dad around when it's just them, but she always makes sure he looks good in front of other people. Even when they argue, one of them always backs down first. Your parents are different. They're both naturally strong-willed. If they have a disagreement, they both think they're right. Even if they realize they're wrong, they'll convince themselves the other person is more wrong, so neither of them ever wants to be the first to give in. When your mom said your dad still owes her, that's what she was talking about. So, when do you think my mom will finally forgive my dad? Cece asked, her voice laced with worry. If I had to guess, I'd say your dad is currently in a probationary period with your mom. It could last a few days, a few months, maybe even a few years. Whether they get back together depends entirely on how he behaves during this time. Isn't there any way to shorten it? It sounds like it could take forever. Of course there is, Wyatt said with a grin. If your dad chased after your mom the same way I chased after you, I bet he could win her back in a month. The words were barely out of his mouth before Cece's small fist came flying at him. Wyatt took the light punch on his arm, then turned on his side, still smiling. All right, let's drop it. Hey, do you know how to clean ears? Yeah, I do, Cece answered automatically. Wyatt immediately sat up and pulled a small box from the top drawer of his nightstand. Inside was a set of nail clippers, small scissors, a file, and an ear pick. He handed the earpick to Cece with a hopeful smile. Could you do it for me? Remembering how he'd threatened her with his belt to make her call him husband, Cece shot back. You have to beg me. She expected him to refuse out of pride. But to her surprise, the moment she spoke, Wyatt knelt on the bed, took her hand, and shamelessly whined. Please? I'm begging you. Ugh, you're so gross. Disgusted or not, Cece took the earpick. She sat up and patted her thigh. Lie down. Wyatt immediately complied. He could swear on his life. Cece's lap was the most comfortable pillow in the entire world. Cece gently held Wyatt's ear with her left hand and peered inside. It's not even dirty in there. I've always loved having my ears cleaned. Just do it for a little while. Are you going to pay me? I'll pay, Wyatt chuckled. Whatever you want. If I can't afford it, I'll just have to pay you with my body. Get lost. Breathing in Cece's sweet scent, Wyatt slowly closed his eyes. Cece held the earpick and whispered, Don't move, okay? Her movements were delicate as she began to clean his ear, her voice a constant, caring murmur. Does it hurt? Is this depth okay? Can you please not make that weird sound? Every time she pulled the earpick out, she would blow a soft puff of air into his ear. Each breath felt like it tickled his very soul, a tingling, numbing sensation that spread through him. Okay, other side. Wyatt quickly turned over, his face now nestled against her lower stomach. Cece's touch was light. Though her technique was unpracticed, her pressure was perfect. Every swirl of the earpick sent a wave of pleasant tingles through him. He wasn't sure how much time had passed. After one last puff of air, Cece whispered, All right, all done. Wyatt remained motionless, his head still resting on her thigh. Seeing this, Cece gently tugged on his ear. Get up, don't play dumb. Wyatt wrapped an arm around her slim waist, nuzzling his head into her embrace. Just 10 more minutes. Please. Cece pouted, thinking to herself, I really don't know what to do with you. 10 minutes passed in a flash. When Cece checked her phone, it was already 2 in the afternoon, but Wyatt seemed to have fallen fast asleep. She didn't have the heart to wake him. Instead, she took the opportunity to get a little revenge for all his teasing, gently poking his cheek and then his nose. When Cece woke up again, she was alone in the bed. She was no longer sitting up, but lying down, tucked neatly under the covers. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. Seeing that Wyatt wasn't in the room, she called out nervously, Dork? Dork. Hearing her from the living room, Wyatt pushed the door open with a smile. You're always calling me a pig, but do you have any idea what time it is? What time is it? 4:30. Are your parents back? Wyatt shook his head. Not yet. Cece threw back the covers and got out of bed, but then she remembered Wyatt had carried her from the couch earlier. Her slippers were still in the living room. Quick, get my slippers for me, she demanded. Wyatt quickly retrieved them and even knelt down to thoughtfully put them on her feet. Do you want to go out for dinner tonight? He asked. Okay. Wait, would that be rude? It's fine. I'll just let my mom know, as long as you promise to come over more often. Don't you dare tell her I was sleeping at your house. I know. As Cece stood up, Wyatt suddenly said, Don't move. She blinked, confused. Wyatt reached out and gently wiped the corner of her mouth, then grinned. You drool in your sleep. Cece's eyes widened, and she pointed a finger at him. You, if you tell anyone, you're dead. Ha ha. Stop laughing. Here, let me wipe it off for you. Get away from me. Back at Maple Creek Estates, Miranda turned her attention to her friend Elaine's future plans. Elaine was already a top-tier designer in the industry with an incredible salary. For her to resign meant she had no intention of going back. As her best friend, Miranda was naturally curious about what she had planned. Elaine, have you thought about what's next? Miranda asked directly. I have, Elaine said honestly. I want to have a baby. Miranda had just taken a sip of water. She nearly spat it out. A baby? With who? Not with anyone. I'm going to do artificial insemination. I've already looked into it. The doctor said my body is in good condition, and the success rate is pretty high. You, why this all of a sudden? I'm afraid of being lonely when I'm old, I guess, Elaine said with a self-deprecating laugh. Women like us, from humble beginnings. The moment we get a chance, we pour everything into our careers. Then we get a little older, our standards get higher, and suddenly we've missed the boat on love. So if I can't have romance, maybe I can look forward to family. As a friend with a similar life story, Miranda understood completely. She pulled Elaine into a hug. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. After fall break, I'm planning to take a couple of months off. I want to get my body ready for the procedure, but I also just want to relax. Do you have any friends in New York? Miranda asked. No, Elaine said softly. I bought a place and settled in NYC because I wanted to give my child a better environment. The medical care, the education, it's all so much better than in a smaller city. I'm just worried that if I'm cooped up at home alone for too long, I'll go crazy. I'll have Wyatt and Cece visit you more often. Elaine suddenly changed the subject. What did you think of that company from this morning? Miranda frowned. Don't tell me an expert like you, a former head designer for a major brand, is actually interested in a little startup like that. But a small company has one advantage a big one doesn't. What's that? No pressure, Elaine said, then shook her head. Honestly, I was thinking that if I joined them, it would give me something to do, so I'm not just sitting at home, and it would also give me a reason to come to Riverwood. Should I mention it to Wyatt? No rush. Let's talk about it after my vacation. Wyatt and Cece left his house at 4:45 p.m. Since it was still early, they didn't go straight to dinner. Instead, Wyatt drove to the apartment complex where his aunt lived. He pulled out his phone and called Riley. Riley had actually come over twice during the first few days of fall break, but Wyatt hadn't been home either time. Plus, her mother, Susan, had told her, "Your cousin Wyatt has his own things to do now. You can't just be his little shadow all the time." So, Riley had stopped trying for the past couple of days. But the moment she saw Wyatt's name on her screen, she shot up from the couch. As soon as she answered, her distinctively cheerful voice chirped through the phone. "Wyatt, come on down," he said with a smile. "I'm waiting for you downstairs." Okay. Riley ran into her room, grabbed $200 bills, and then dashed to the door to change her shoes. Susan saw her and immediately asked, "Where are you off to in such a hurry?" Wyatt's waiting for me downstairs." Hearing it was Wyatt, Susan relaxed. Riley took the elevator down to the first floor and ran out, immediately spotting Wyatt's car. She hopped in excitedly, greeting them politely. "Hi, Wyatt." "Hi, Cece." Wyatt laughed. "How many times have I told you? Call her sister-in-law. Why don't you ever listen?" Riley, ever obedient, immediately corrected herself. "Hi, sister-in-law." Cece shot a hand out and pinched Wyatt's side before turning to Riley with a smile. "Don't listen to your cousin. Just call me Cece." "Okay." Riley leaned forward. "Wyatt, where are we going?" Wyatt glanced at his watch and then asked back, "Where do you want to go?" "Let's go shopping for clothes." "Clothes? Doesn't your mom buy you clothes all the time?" Riley hesitated, looking embarrassed, before finally whispering, "I want to buy the clothes you wear underneath." "You mean underwear?" "You little goof, you don't have to be shy with me." In his eyes, she was still a little kid, but in reality, she was well on her way to being a young woman. Riley had heard Cece's voice from her apartment. She had never gone into a lingerie store by herself before and figured that if she went with Cece, it would be less awkward and she'd have someone to help her pick things out. "Why don't you just ask your mom to buy them for you?" Riley's face turned red. "The ones my mom buys don't fit right. They're a little tight." Wyatt burst out laughing. "Haha, our little Riley is all grown up now." "Wyatt." Riley squirmed in the back seat, completely flustered. Cece reached over and gave Wyatt a solid smack on the arm. "Shut up. You're not allowed to talk right now." All right, I'll stop." Wyatt drove to the downtown promenade. After parking, the three of them walked down the main street. When they finally spotted a women's lingerie boutique, Cece took Riley's hand and led her inside. If it had been Leo, he would have waited outside like a perfect gentleman. But this was Wyatt, a man universally acknowledged to have skin thicker than a castle wall. He followed them in without a second thought. The shop was small, maybe a couple hundred square feet, but it was packed with different styles. Wyatt glanced around and found a chair near the entrance to sit down. Cece led Riley through the racks. They eventually picked out 3 items and went into the fitting room to check the sizes. Riley wasn't shy in front of Cece. After trying them on, she even called Cece in for a look. Once they had made their selections, Wyatt got up, walked over, and paid. Seeing this, Riley quickly pulled out her $200. "Wyatt, I have money. Keep it for yourself. When you're out with me, you're not spending your own money." Only then did Riley put her money away. After paying, Wyatt turned to Cece and teased, "You want to buy a couple? I can help you pick some out." Cece's hand shot out, grabbed his ear, and dragged him out of the store. Ow, that hurts." "That's what you get for talking nonsense." "Cece, have you noticed you've changed? You used to just blush when I said stuff like that. Now you've gotten so aggressive. You're the one who made me this way. What does it have to do with me?" Riley followed behind them, watching them bicker, and couldn't help but giggle. Wyatt saw her and playfully grabbed her ear. "What are you laughing at? I may not dare to mess with her, but I can still mess with you." Cece slapped his hand away. "Wyatt, have some shame, would you?" she said, exasperated. "I wasn't even pulling hard." "Riley, go home and tell your mom on him. Have her teach him a lesson." Riley actually defended him. "He really wasn't pulling hard, Cece." "Ha," Wyatt gloated. "Come on, I'll treat you both to a big meal." "Wyatt, is this what you call a big meal? A spicy ramen joint?" Riley propped her chin on her hands, staring down at the 3 bowls of steaming noodles on the table with a look of utter resignation. Wyatt slurped a mouthful of noodles and grinned. Hey, you've got food. Stop complaining. Riley sighed with the air of a world-weary old woman before finally picking up her chopsticks and taking small, delicate bites. Wyatt, when are you guys going back to New York? The day after tomorrow. So the next time you'll be home is for winter break? It'll be a little later this year. The company won't be closing for the holidays that early, Wyatt replied. Now stop chattering and eat while it's hot. I'll take you home when you're done. Riley obediently went back to eating. Wyatt ate quickly, finishing his bowl in no time. He pulled out his phone and called Miranda. Hello, Wyatt. Aunt Miranda, Cece, and I are out eating. Have you and Aunt Elaine eaten yet? If not, I can grab something for you guys and bring it back. Miranda smiled at his words. Even when she and Charles were first married, he would never call to see if she'd eaten when he was out with clients, let alone offer to bring her back takeout. What are you and Cece having? Spicy ramen, Wyatt said with a laugh. Hold on. Let me ask your Aunt Elaine if she wants any. Okay. After a few seconds, Miranda came back on the line. We'll take 2 bowls of ramen, not too spicy. You got it. After he hung up, Elaine smiled. Wyatt is really something else. He's out with Cece and still thinks of us. He's always been a good kid. Much better than some people, Miranda said, the some people clearly referring to Charles. At the mention of his name, Elaine crossed her legs on the sofa, a curious glint in her eye. Seriously, what's the end game for you and Charles? With no one else around, Miranda didn't hold back. Cece has always wanted her dad and me to get back together. Charles brought it up with me not long ago, too. But if he's still the same person he was before, there's no way I'm just going to agree. From what I've seen the last few days, he seems to be trying. You don't know the half of it. That's all Wyatt's coaching. Wyatt's coaching? Miranda said, amused. A while back, I was at work, and someone mysteriously ordered a coffee for me. As Miranda recounted the story, Elaine burst out laughing, clutching her stomach. That's hilarious. But seriously, Elaine said, still chuckling, Charles really does need to learn a thing or two from Wyatt. A guy like Wyatt is so much more charming. On the way back, Wyatt arranged with Riley to pick her up the next morning so they could drive out to the countryside and visit their grandparents. Riley, of course, happily agreed. After dropping her off safely at her apartment complex, Wyatt turned the car around and headed for Maple Creek Estates. Early the next morning, Wyatt picked up Riley and drove to their grandmother's house, staying there until a little after 4 in the afternoon before heading back. That evening, Wyatt called Leo, telling him he'd be arriving in New York around 3 the next afternoon and asking him to pick him up from the station. The night passed without incident. On the morning of the 7th, after a hearty breakfast at home, Wyatt slung a shoulder bag on and drove to pick up Cece. After a 5-hour train ride on the Acela, they arrived in New York City. They met up with Leo and Sophie at Penn Station, and the group headed back to the Juilliard campus. By early evening, Wyatt was back at his own school. Chris and Sam were in the dorm. Chris and Paige had spent a few days exploring the city and had just gotten back the night before. As for Sam, he had spent the entire 7-day break in the dorm, and 2 thick CPA exam prep books had appeared on his desk. Where's Alex? Wyatt asked casually as he dropped his bag on his desk. He went out first thing this morning, Sam said. He's been leaving early and coming back late every day. We barely see him during the day. Wyatt knew he must be out with Lily every day. Otherwise, he wouldn't have borrowed money from him right before the break. Chris wasn't interested in Alex's affairs. He asked, Wyatt, have you figured out how we're going to promote our student startup support initiative? I've thought of the most direct and cheapest way. What is it? We post directly on the subreddits and forums of every major university in the country. Chris's eyes widened. That's a ton of work. If people comment, we'll have to reply, right? Wyatt grinned. That's why I'm planning to set up a new marketing department. We'll hire some interns to handle it. That sounds good. We're too short-staffed. We definitely need to hire more people. We'll deal with it tomorrow. I need to lie down for a bit. Dude, what's with you? You come back from break looking totally drained, like you're completely spent. Wyatt waved a hand dismissively. What can I do? A beautiful woman at home is a problem no doctor can solve. The best surgeons would shake their heads. The top specialists would just sigh. You dog. At 7:30 that evening, after Michael Zhao dropped Isabel off at her dorm, he smiled. I'll see you on Saturday then. Okay. Isabel pushed the car door open, waved at Michael, and then turned to walk into the building. Watching her disappear from sight with a small cake box in her hand, Michael finally drove away from campus. Ever since he'd confessed his feelings to Isabel on the first night of the break, Michael had asked her out every single day. Their relationship had progressed rapidly over the week. Feeling cheerful, he returned to his apartment, took a quick shower, and then sent Isabel a text. How was the cake? It was delicious. The other girls loved it too. The durian flavor was the best. Michael smiled as he typed his reply. If you like it, we can get it again next time. You're always the one paying. I feel bad about that. Isabel quickly added, how about I treat you to dinner next week? But don't take me anywhere too expensive. The girlfriend Michael had dated overseas had always expected him to take her to high-end places and had never once offered to split the bill, as if it were a man's divine duty to pay for everything. Seeing Isabel's message warmed his heart. He thought for a moment before agreeing. Okay, as long as I'm with you, I'd be happy eating from a food truck every day. After sending the message, Michael grinned foolishly. Just then, the doorbell rang. He went to open it. Standing outside was none other than his uncle, Robert Zhao. Uncle, what are you doing here? Robert Zhao took a step forward. Behind him, Michael's parents, Walter and Susan Zhao, followed him in. Dad? Mom? What are you guys doing here too? Michael was stunned, completely caught off guard. Susan stood with her arms crossed, letting out a cold huff as she walked past him. If your uncle hadn't told me you had a girlfriend, I would still be in the dark. How long were you planning on hiding this from me? Mom! Don't mom me. You don't even tell me about something this important. Am I still your mother? Michael's face fell. Mom, technically, she's not my girlfriend yet. I'm still in the pursuing stage. Susan sat on the sofa, took her son's hand, and asked with a saccharine smile, my son is so handsome. How could it be hard to win over a girl? Quick, tell me all about her. Walter Zhao was also a businessman. He'd made a fortune when he was younger, but he wasn't greedy. Once he'd earned enough to last a lifetime, he retired early. It was Walter who had provided the initial capital for Robert's business ventures, so the two brothers were very close. As for Michael's mother, Susan, she had married Walter when she was very young and had lived a comfortable life for the past few decades, which left her with a touch of naivety. Her greatest wish now was to hold a grandchild as soon as possible. The moment Robert mentioned a girlfriend, she had dragged Walter straight over to their son's apartment. Mom, can you not be so eager? You're my son. If I'm not eager, who will be? Walter stepped forward and asked directly. Your uncle said she's still in college? Yeah. Which university? The Juilliard School, Michael answered honestly. What's her name? Isabel. What's her family situation? Michael could only relay what he knew. She's from New York, but her dad works in Australia most of the year. She doesn't have any siblings. She's an only child. Walter nodded and didn't press further. Susan pulled Michael down to sit next to her, adopting the posture of an experienced veteran. Listen to me, son. When you're looking for a wife, you have to find someone you can build a stable life with. Our family may be well off, but your father and I will not allow you to bring home some shady, disreputable woman. Mom, what are you talking about? Is my judgment that bad? Do you have a picture of her? Susan pressed. Let me see. Michael was a little embarrassed, but under the watchful eyes of his father and uncle, he pulled out his phone, found a picture of Isabel in his photo album, and handed it to his mother. Susan studied the photo, nodding. She is very pretty. How tall is she? Around 5'5", I think. She looks all right, Susan said with a smile. Her chest is a little small, though. I wonder if she'll be a good mother. Walter shot his wife a look, snatched the phone from her hand, glanced at the photo, and then gave Michael an order. Find some time to bring her to the company. Let your uncle meet her. When things are more serious between you two, you can bring her home to meet your mother and me. Did you hear me? I heard you. When Wyatt woke up, it was already dark outside. He fumbled for his phone under his pillow and saw that it was almost 8 o'clock. Chris was at his computer, editing a job posting. Next to him, Sam was quietly reading. Did you two eat dinner? Dude, look at the time. It was so late, Wyatt didn't feel like going out again. He got up, washed his face, and called Alex. Alex was on his way back to the dorm. When he saw Wyatt's name pop up, his first reaction was a jolt of anxiety. He still hadn't paid back the 2 loans he'd taken from Wyatt. But in the end, he answered, Alex, where are you? On my way back. Perfect. Grab me a rice bowl on your way. I'm too lazy to go out. Alex breathed a sigh of relief. Sure, he said quickly. I'll be there in about 15 minutes. Wyatt hung up after a few more words and then sent Alex a $20 Venmo payment. If this had been before, Alex would never have accepted the money. What were a few bucks for a meal between brothers? But now, he hesitated, conflicted, before finally tapping accept. He couldn't help it. He was broke. The $2,000 he'd borrowed from Wyatt before the break had run out 2 days ago. Even though he'd received his monthly allowance from home at the beginning of the month, he knew it would be a struggle to make it last until the end. Standing next to him, Lily noticed he was quiet after hanging up. Who was that? She asked curiously. Oh, that was Wyatt. Wyatt? Why'd he call you? Alex forced a smile. He asked me to bring him back some food. Lily pouted. Does he always order you around like that? No, not at all, Alex explained. He used to bring me food all the time freshman year. And now? What about now? Is your relationship with him not as good as it was freshman year? No, it's not like that. Are you sure? Uh, Alex said awkwardly. He's busy with his startup now, so we just don't spend as much time together as we used to. Lily let out a long, meaningful "oh." The story of Wyatt's startup was famous on campus. 2 of his 3 roommates had joined his company, but Alex hadn't been included. Lily suspected he was the one being ostracized in the dorm. She just didn't say it out loud, trying to spare his feelings. After they got back to campus, Lily didn't go with Alex to get Wyatt's food. She went straight back to her dorm. Alex first went to a restaurant to get the rice bowl, then stopped by the food truck strip to grab 2 hot dogs. When he got back to the dorm, he placed the food and the hot dogs on Wyatt's desk. "Did you eat?" Wyatt asked. "Yeah, I ate out." "With Lily?" "Yeah." Wyatt unwrapped the container, picked up a hot dog, and took a bite, asking with interest, "Did you confess to her yet?" "I did." "Did she say yes?" Wyatt smiled. "Let me guess. She didn't say yes, but she didn't reject you either, right?" It was a classic move. Keep a guy on the hook as long as he's useful, then cut him loose without a second thought when he's not. Seeing Alex's silence, Wyatt added, "I have a way to figure out if she's actually willing to be your girlfriend." "What is it?" Alex asked immediately. "Find an opportunity somewhere with a lot of people, preferably with friends around, and take her hand. If she lets you hold it, it means she likes you. If her first reaction is to pull away, then she's just playing with you and has no intention of being your girlfriend." Alex froze, speechless. Chris, worried Alex was getting played, chimed in from his desk, using a goading tone. "Alex, don't tell me you've been hanging out with Lily this long, and you're still too scared to even hold her hand." "Of course not." Chris just smiled, having made his point. Alex pulled out his chair and sat down, a seed of doubt planted in his heart. After sending off his parents and uncle, Michael Zhao heaved a long sigh of relief. He lay on his bed, and after some hesitation, decided to tell Isabel what had happened. He phrased it delicately, but when Isabel heard that Michael's family knew about her and wanted to meet her, she immediately recalled Wyatt's warning, and her heart began to pound with anxiety. Winning over Michael was easy, but just as Wyatt had said, a man like his uncle was sharp as a tack. Passing that test would be no simple feat. Isabel glanced at the time, then looked over at Cecil's bunk. Seeing her friend inside her bed canopy, video chatting with Wyatt, Isabel, still in her pajamas, climbed down from her top bunk, crossed over to Cecil's, pulled back the canopy, and slipped inside. "Isabel, what are you doing?" Cece yelped. Isabel squeezed in next to her, snuggling into the covers with a grin. "I need to ask Wyatt something. Can it wait until tomorrow?" "Oh, it'll just take a second." "Moi." Isabel wrapped an arm around Cece and planted a kiss on her cheek. Cece, powerless against her, sighed and held her phone back up. Wyatt had heard the whole exchange. When a second face appeared on the screen, he asked, "Ms. Isabel, are you seeking me out at this hour about you and Michael again?" "Don't play dumb. I thought you two were getting along great lately." Isabel sighed. "Michael just told me his parents and his uncle showed up at his place tonight. His parents said I don't have to meet them yet, but they want Michael to take me to his company to meet his uncle first." "What, are you scared?" Isabel rolled her eyes. "It's not that I'm scared exactly. It's just, I feel a little shaky, not very confident. You just need to remember one principle." "What principle?" "Talk less, listen more," Wyatt said with a smile. "When you meet him, whatever his uncle asks, you answer. Don't say anything extra. All you have to do is act reserved and a little shy in front of him." "All right," Wyatt added quickly. "Pay attention to what you wear that day. No luxury brands, and don't wear heavy makeup." "I get that part." But Cece frowned. "Why?" Wyatt explained, from his parents' perspective, they either want Michael to find a wife who can help him in his career, or they want him to find a gentle, virtuous wife who will settle down and live a quiet life. Compared to the former, the latter is much easier to become. Isabel thought about it and realized he was right. Even if Michael's uncle was a genius, as long as she didn't run her mouth, she wouldn't expose herself. Feeling more relaxed, she immediately hugged Cece and taunted Wyatt. "Hey, Wyatt, don't you wish you could be sleeping with Cece like I am right now?" To provoke him further, Isabel pretended to sniff Cece. Your girlfriend smells so good." Wyatt just chuckled, thinking to himself, "We've already slept together. You have no idea." "All right, get out of here. Stop talking nonsense," Cece grumbled. "Fine, I'm going." Before getting up, Isabel's hand, hidden under the covers, snaked over and gave Cece's chest a little squeeze. As she climbed out, she said with a look of pure envy, "You're huge. I wish I was your size." Cece knew exactly what she was talking about. Her face flushed red as she shot back, "Isabel, you're insane." "Ha!" The holiday break ended, and the monotonous routine of college life began again. Wyatt split his time between the company and school. After interviewing several students who had applied for internships, he finally selected 3 and formed a new department. He tentatively called it the marketing department. For now, its main task was to promote the Student Startup Support Initiative. Later, if the company had a steady stream of projects, they could be merged into the administration or operations departments. In mid-October, a series of rainstorms hit New York City. With each autumn downpour, the weather grew colder. The low temperatures soon dropped into the 50s, and the mornings and evenings felt genuinely chilly. On Friday morning, as soon as the bell rang, Wyatt walked out of the academic building to find that a torrential downpour had started out of nowhere. Students without umbrellas scrambled to share with those who did. Not only did Wyatt not have one, but out of his 4 roommates, only Alex had brought one. But the moment the bell rang, that guy had bolted for another building to meet up with Lily. "Don't just stand there. The car's parked right across the street. Let's just make a run for it," Chris said. "All right." Wyatt and Chris took off into the rain. Sam, a half second behind, finally reacted and chased after them. Lily's professor had let them out a few minutes late. When she walked out of the classroom and saw the downpour, one of her roommates, a girl with glasses, immediately started complaining. "What is this? Why is it suddenly raining so hard? None of you brought an umbrella? What do we do? The 4 of us only have one umbrella. How are we supposed to get back to the dorm?" Lily said, "You guys go ahead. Someone's coming to get me. Don't tell me it's that freshman from the business school again." "Lily, what's the deal with you two anyway?" "We're just friends, I guess." "Speak of the devil." Alex came running up the stairs and, seeing Lily with her 3 roommates, hurried towards them. The 3 girls immediately swallowed the words that were on their lips. Alex had run the whole way and climbed 4 flights of stairs, and he was still catching his breath. "Hey, you got here just in time," one of the friends said. Alex scratched his head, smiling sheepishly. "I ran over as soon as class ended." "Well, let's go." "Cafeteria?" "Yeah." The group of 5 headed downstairs, huddled under 2 umbrellas, and started walking toward the cafeteria. Alex walked side by side with Lily. Rain dripped steadily from the edge of the umbrella. Looking at Lily, so close to him, Alex felt that the rain had come at the perfect time. At this moment, they looked more like a couple than ever before. But then, he suddenly remembered what Wyatt had said last week when he brought him dinner. Alex glanced down at Lily's hand. An impulse stirred within him. After a few minutes of internal debate, he finally mustered the courage and reached out, taking her left hand in his. The moment their hands touched, Alex felt a jolt of electricity shoot through him. Just as his heart was about to pound out his chest, Lily frowned, glanced around nervously, then clenched her hand into a fist and pulled it away. Alex felt like he'd been struck by lightning. He followed her in a daze to the shelter of the cafeteria entrance. When he saw Lily immediately join her 3 friends, an indescribable pain welled up inside him. Behind him, the rain poured down. His left shoulder was already soaked through. Michael drove to the Juilliard campus a little before 11. He waited in his car for over half an hour before Isabel finally emerged from her class. Seeing that none of the girls had an umbrella, Michael drove right up to them. After they hopped in, he dropped Cece, Ashley, and Sophie off at their dorm first, then turned around and drove Isabel toward his uncle's company. They had arranged the meeting on Monday. Michael had given Isabel a heads up, telling her his uncle would probably want to meet her. Isabel was already mentally prepared. She didn't overthink it, just quietly watched the raindrops beat against the car window. Some people mature early, others late. Isabel clearly belonged to the former group. It wasn't until middle school that her father had gotten the opportunity to work abroad. Before that, her family's financial situation had been average at best. It was only as her father climbed the corporate ladder and his salary grew that their circumstances improved. In middle school, she'd once saved up for months, pinching pennies just to buy a piece of clothing she liked, and she still remembered haggling with the sales clerk with a fistful of small bills. Later, in high school, while living in the dorms, she accidentally witnessed her normally gentle and refined history teacher cheating with another female teacher from the school. The affair only came to light 6 months later when the history teacher's wife stormed the school and caused a massive scene. The scandal was the talk of the school for weeks. Isabel couldn't understand why such a nice teacher would do something like that. The other teacher wasn't even as pretty as his wife, nor as kind. After that incident, Isabel understood a fundamental truth. For a woman, being beautiful was like holding a wild card in a game of poker. Paired with any other card, it could be a winning hand. Played alone, it was worthless. The consequence of understanding certain truths too early is that you see through people easily, and your standards become higher. Starting in middle school, Isabel received love letters almost every semester. She didn't know 90% of the boys who wrote them. That was why she never believed in love at first sight. People who claimed it was love at first sight were really just admitting it was lust at first sight. Of course, she knew that among her many admirers, a tiny fraction genuinely liked her. But Isabel had set her requirements for a future partner long ago. He had to be rich. So, before college, she had remained single. Isabel had always felt that Michael's appearance in her life was fate. He perfectly met all her criteria. He was rich, kind of cute, and most importantly, he was gullible and easy for her to handle. Isabel felt that if she and Michael ended up together, she wouldn't have to worry about much other than keeping his lower half in check so he wouldn't cheat. That didn't seem too difficult for her. She'd just have to wear him out at home, and he wouldn't have the energy to fool around outside. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, noticing her silence. Isabel snapped back to reality and shook her head with a smile. "Nothing, just spacing out. For lunch today, I'll take you for a quick bite of the company, and tonight, I'll treat you to a big dinner." "I thought I was treating you," Isabel said immediately. "You could treat me tomorrow. Tomorrow is all up to you. Then I'll invite the others too." "Sure, the more the merrier." They chatted all the way there. After getting out of the car, Michael led Isabel straight to the floor with the company cafeteria. On the surface, it looked no different from a university dining hall, but certain tables were unofficially reserved for senior executives and others for mid-level managers. While not a hard rule, it was an unspoken part of the company culture. Michael, however, had a special privilege. He could eat in one of the few private dining rooms inside the cafeteria. Michael's assistant, Michelle Lee, saw him lead Isabel into a private room after they got their food and immediately sent out a text message. 2 minutes later, the secretary knocked and entered Robert Zhao's office. "Chairman," she said respectfully, "Mr. Zhao's nephew is back. He's in one of the private dining rooms in the cafeteria right now." Robert Zhao nodded, stood up, and left his office. He took the elevator down to the cafeteria. Usually, his secretary would get his food and bring it to him, but today, Robert did it himself. Carrying his tray, he walked to the door of the private room and pushed it open. Michael had planned to take Isabel up to the top floor to meet his uncle after lunch. He never expected his uncle to come to them. He was momentarily stunned. Isabel was even more flustered. Michael snapped out of it and quickly stood up. Pointing to Robert, he said, "Isabel, let me introduce you. This is my uncle." Isabel hastily stood up and said politely, "Uncle, hello." "Uncle, this is Isabel," Michael added quickly. The usually stern Robert Zhao actually smiled. "Don't just stand there. Sit, both of you sit." Isabel glanced at Michael, who gave her a slight nod. They both sat back down. Although Isabel had never met Robert Zhao before, he looked almost exactly as she had imagined. A square face, salt and pepper hair, dressed in a sharp suit. His entire demeanor screamed successful entrepreneur. "Isabel, is it okay if I call you Belle?" "Yes." "So, how's the food in our cafeteria?" "It's good. Better than my school's cafeteria." "What year are you now?" "Sophomore." "Michael tells me your father works in Australia most of the time." "Yes." "What industry is he in?" "Energy." Following Wyatt's strategy, Isabel answered only what was asked and never said an extra word. The entire meal was harmonious. As Robert was leaving, he dropped one final line. "You two get along well, but know your limits." And with that, he left. Michael almost shouted with joy. His uncle's words were a clear signal. "I approve of your relationship." Isabel let out a breath of relief. Just as she was about to let her guard down, she caught a glimpse of a pair of shoes under the door. She instantly realized Robert was still standing outside. Immediately, she countered, "What are you smiling about? I never said I'd be your girlfriend." "Huh." Outside the door, Robert Zhao smiled to himself and walked away. The rain fell all afternoon. Wyatt, who had planned to go see Cece, could only call her in the mid-afternoon to say he'd visit her tomorrow. And so, Cece spent the afternoon staring out the window, watching the drizzling rain, hating rainy days more and more. Wyatt, Chris, and Sam sat in the office all afternoon. It wasn't until they got back to the dorm after eating takeout that they found Alex still in bed, fast asleep. This was highly unusual. Alex rarely slept during the day. Even in the summer, when Wyatt and the others were taking naps, he would rather sit at his desk with headphones on, playing on his computer. Wyatt and Chris exchanged a look. Chris walked over to Alex's bed and asked with a smile, "Alex, what's going on? It's this late, and you're still in bed." "Nothing else to do anyway," Alex mumbled, rolling over and pretending nothing was wrong. Chris looked back at Wyatt, who then asked, "Why aren't you out with your dear Lily? Didn't you see how hard it's raining?" Wyatt just smiled and didn't press further. Because of the rain, the sky darkened early. Wyatt took a shower and was in bed by 7. Since the dorm was on the second floor, right above a grassy area, mosquitoes were a major problem in the summer. Shortly after school started in September, Wyatt had bought a bed canopy online. It kept the bugs out and gave him a bit of privacy. He propped his pillow against the headboard and leaned back. Lighting up his phone, he opened his messages and sent a video call request to Cece. It rang for a while before it was answered, but the face that appeared on the screen wasn't Cece's. It was Sophie, wearing a face mask. She held up Cece's phone and said, "Mr. Boss Man, your girlfriend is in the shower. Please call back in 10 minutes. Wyatt laughed. "No way, let's chat for a bit. How have you and Leo been lately?" Sophie gave him a withering look and shot back. "You're so nosy. That damn Leo. He used to text and call me every other day, and now it's like he's fallen off the face of the earth. He won't even respond to me. Wouldn't you call that ditching your friends for a girl?" "Ditching my foot. I'm not talking to you anymore. Here, talk to Isabel." "Mr. Zhao just dropped her off." Sophie handed the phone to Isabel. Isabel happened to want to report her victory to Wyatt anyway. She took the phone and propped it up on her phone stand. Wyatt smiled. "Judging by your expression, it looks like you've passed the Michael's uncle test." "Piece of cake," Isabel boasted. "Is Michael even happier than you are?" "Yeah, he's such a simpleton." Wyatt didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Before I introduced you two, I had no idea he was such a hopeless romantic." Isabel sounded a little helpless. "After dinner tonight, we were just wandering around the mall. I was deliberately walking so close to him, my hand was practically touching his, and the fool still didn't take it. I swear." "Sounds like another Leo." Sophie's voice cut in. Hey, you two could talk about whatever you want, but why do you keep bringing up Leo?" Hearing Sophie defend Leo, Wyatt knew their relationship had reached a new level. Isabel wasn't concerned with Sophie's business right now. She continued, "At first I was thinking of dragging it out, taking things slow with him. But now, I feel like if I don't take the initiative, he has no intention of moving things forward." "Well, you just have to train him slowly, huh?" "All right, I'm treating you all to dinner tomorrow night." "No problem." After they chatted for a bit, Cece came out of the bathroom. Isabel quickly got up and presented the phone to Cece with both hands. "Your Majesty, your man is video calling you." Cece was used to their dorm room antics. She took the phone and said with mock authority, "I know. You are dismissed. This servant takes her leave." Cece sighed in exasperation. "Honestly, being with you guys all day, I'm going to go crazy too." Fresh from a hot shower, Cece's face was slightly flushed. She placed her phone on a cute cat-shaped stand, pulled a Dyson hairdryer from her drawer, and began drying her wet hair. Wyatt watched her, content to just smile at the screen, not saying a word, as if he could smell the fragrance of her hair through the phone. When she was done, Wyatt finally asked, "What did you do all afternoon?" "Nothing." Cece put the hairdryer back and grabbed a bottle of some lotion. She propped her foot on her desk, pulled up her pant leg to reveal a long, smooth, pale calf, and squeezed some white lotion in her palm. She rubbed her hands together and then evenly applied it to her leg and foot. Whether intentional or not, the camera angle gave Wyatt a perfect view. On the surface, he was calm, but inside he was thinking, "Damn it, from now on, that's a job I have to volunteer for." Seeing Wyatt was quiet, Cece asked, "What about you? What did you do all afternoon?" "Slacking off at the office. I was so bored a mushroom grew on my head. I cooked the mushroom and ate it, but then I got poisoned and had to go to the hospital. The doctor said I was suffering from a case of so mushroom for improvement." "Haha, you're such a dork." Cece had him on speaker. Her 3 roommates heard everything. On the surface, they were expressionless, but inside, they were consumed with envy. Ashley, the single one, was a given. But even Sophie and Isabel, who were technically not single anymore, knew that neither Leo nor Michael could ever make them laugh and feel happy the way Wyatt did with Cece. Humor was a man's greatest asset, besides being tall, rich, and handsome. Seeing Cece laughing so hard she was practically glowing, Sophie silently picked up her phone and sent a series of texts to Leo. "When are you coming over tomorrow? Where are you? You better have a good excuse, or you're dead meat." Isabel, sitting back to back with Cece, was thinking, if only Michael could be like Wyatt and make me happy. Ashley was silently praying, "Oh please, universe, just send me a boyfriend." And in the men's dorm at that very moment, hearing the sound of Wyatt and Cece's laughter, Alex just silently pulled the covers over his head. In the dark, he opened his chat history with Lily on his phone. He looked at the message she had sent him that evening. "Want to get dinner tonight?" And his expression grew even more desolate. It was only then that he realized a crucial fact. Lily had probably never liked him at all. Saturday. The sky was clear after the rain. Wyatt slept in until 9, grabbed breakfast at the cafeteria, and then drove over to the Juilliard campus. After several days of dreary rain, the sun was finally out, and the city was bustling with people. As he drove past a bus stop near the campus gate, Wyatt saw Lily again. But strangely, Alex was nowhere in sight. Where did Alex go? Wyatt muttered to himself. Sam said he left first thing this morning. He couldn't guess the answer and didn't dwell on it. 40 minutes later, his car was parked in front of the girls' dorm. He had seen Cece peering out from the balcony as he drove up. He got out of the car and yelled up, "I see you. Why aren't you coming down yet?" Cece, who had ducked down to hide, popped back up at his words. She leaned over the railing, a happy smile on her face. "When did you see me?" "I saw you ages ago," Wyatt called back, beckoning with his hand. "Hurry up and come down, so I can give you a kiss." "Get lost," she yelled back, then asked, "Are we going out today?" "Whatever you want. How about we go to the library? The one on Grand Army Plaza. It's a quick drive." Before Wyatt could reply, another head appeared on the balcony. Sophie grinned. "I want to go too." Wyatt asked, "Didn't Leo tell you when he was coming today?" "He has something to do at school. He's coming this afternoon," Sophie replied. Wyatt laughed. "Then you come down too. Ask Isabel and Ashley if they want to go. 1/3 wheel, 3/3 wheels, what's the difference?" A few minutes later, the four of them came downstairs. Cece was dressed simply today, a dark blue knit sweater over a white t-shirt, paired with vintage-style, straight-leg jeans and black Vans. A simple black leather bag was slung over her shoulder. There was nothing particularly special about the outfit, but she looked effortlessly beautiful. Seeing Wyatt staring at Cece, Isabel waved a hand in front of his face. "Hello, Wyatt? Are you going to look at us? We all put on makeup today." "Sorry, I only have eyes for Cece." "TSK, TSK." Isabel pouted, opened the back door, and slid in. Ashley and Sophie followed her. The front passenger seat was, of course, reserved for Cece, who naturally took her place. As he drove, Wyatt asked, "Why are you all so eager to go to the library today?" "To get some good shots for our socials. Make sure you take lots of pictures of us later." Wyatt laughed, exasperated. "So, you're only going to the library to take pictures?" "Why else? I usually go to the library to study." Ashley immediately shot back. "Wyatt, can you say that with a straight face?" "Seriously," Isabel chimed in. "Do you look like the type who loves to study? You can tell if someone likes to study just by looking at them." "Definitely." Isabel shifted in her seat and started complaining. "Wyatt, the back of this car is a little cramped. When are you going to get a bigger one?" "No money." "You have no money? Who are you kidding? Michael told me you made a killing on that movie you invested in." Wyatt explained, "I need that money to invest in other projects. Besides, you didn't complain about it being cramped before." "What? You used to Michael's luxury car now, so mine isn't good enough for you." "I was just making an observation. Don't make it a big deal. You're such a princess. Always something with you." The library was only a couple of miles from the school, but there were a lot of traffic lights. They entered through the west entrance, parked the car, and walked up the steps to the main entrance. It was crowded inside. After they went in, the four girls eagerly started looking for spots to take photos. Wyatt could only follow behind them, looking around, until they had taken enough pictures and found a place to sit. He then grabbed a copy of Shakespeare's sonnets from a shelf and sat down next to Cece. The library had 4 open floors. The first floor had book sections, a convenience store, a Starbucks, and even an ATM. The basement level had a reader's cafe. It was completely different from University Library. A book lover could easily spend an entire day there. Wyatt saw that the girls were all engrossed in editing their photos for their social media feeds. So he opened the book of poetry he had grabbed and started reading with interest. After some time, Ashley noticed Wyatt was genuinely reading. She lowered her voice and teased, "No way, Wyatt. You're actually being serious?" Wyatt looked up and smiled. "Well, I'm just sitting here with nothing to do. I'm looking through these sonnets, trying to pick a name for our future child." Cece's face instantly turned red. Under the table, she reached out and gave his thigh a hard pinch. "Who's having a baby with you?" she muttered, her head down. "Shut up." Isabel, Sophie, and Ashley looked at each other and then sighed in unison, their faces all saying the same thing. "We're so done with you too." Wyatt just grinned shamelessly, then stood up. "I'll buy you guys coffee. What do you want?" "Caramel macchiato, thanks." +1. Wyatt headed to the Starbucks, ordered 5 coffees, and while waiting, he got a text from Michael. "Wyatt, are you with your girlfriend?" "Yeah. I just saw Isabel's feed. You guys are at the library?" "Yep. Isabel probably told you. She's treating us to dinner tonight." "She did. She already met my uncle, and he's given us his blessing. I need you to help me out. I want to take things to the next level with her." "What do you mean next level?" "I want to be her official boyfriend." "Can't you just tell her that? It's a little embarrassing." "Damn it. Since when did you get all shy about dating? It's just, bringing it up so formally is really hard to say. Wyatt thought for a moment and typed back with a smile, I might have a way to help you. Bro, you're the best. Tell me. Tonight, let's you and I have a few drinks. When the time is right, you follow my lead, and we'll both pretend to be drunk. And then, I'll tell Leo ahead of time to take Sophie and Ashley back to the dorm. I'll take my girlfriend back to a hotel. Then you can do whatever you want. Dude, brilliant. I can confess again and ask her to be my girlfriend. If she agrees, it's a happy ending. If she doesn't, I can just keep pretending to be drunk so it won't be awkward. Wyatt saw Michael's reply and was speechless. Damn it, when I said do whatever you want, I meant hold her hand, give her a little kiss. You're going through all this trouble just to confess? They stayed at the library until a little after 1 in the afternoon before the 5 of them remembered they hadn't eaten lunch. But perhaps it was the effect of the morning coffee, because not even Wyatt felt hungry. Since Isabel was treating them to a big dinner that night, they decided to just grab a quick, casual bite at the school cafeteria. Back at the cafeteria, Wyatt ordered a pork chop over rice. He had just finished when Cece scraped all the meat from her bowl into his, saying with a bright smile, I can't finish it. I don't want it to go to waste. Wyatt said, exasperated, I feel like you think I'm a pig. You are, Cece said, her eyes curving into happy crescents. Whenever she was with Wyatt, her mood was exceptionally bright. They didn't even have to do anything special, just chat, hold hands, and occasionally get into a little mischief. But the feeling of having someone by her side was so wonderful to Cece that, if she could, she would spend every day with this dork. As for Isabel's advice about pacing the relationship, that had long been thrown to the wind. At that moment, Leo was already on the subway. Thinking about getting a hotel room for the night, he texted Wyatt. Want me to book the hotel on my way? Wyatt quickly replied, no need. If you're booking one, get a single room for yourself. Leo, you're going back to the dorm tonight? Wyatt, I'm sleeping in a king-size bed with my girlfriend tonight. Leo, you are not human. Wyatt, by the way, I need you to do something for me. Leo, name it. Wyatt quickly explained the plan for the evening. When Leo read it, he immediately texted back, damn, you two are really something else. In the mid-afternoon, Michael began to get ready. He first changed into a suit, but after looking in the mirror, he decided it was too formal. He swapped the dress pants for jeans, but the colors didn't match. Finally, he gave up, took everything off, and pulled a black Adidas tracksuit from his closet. At 4:30, Michael texted Isabel, when should I come over? Isabel replied quickly, you can come now. I'll be waiting at school. Okay, be right there. After replying, Isabel sent a message to Cece. The 3 of them had gone back to the dorm after lunch. Since Wyatt couldn't go up to their room, Cece had taken him to one of her usual classrooms. They locked the door and spent the afternoon there. When they received Isabel's message, they started heading back to the dorm. Cece pulled 2 wet wipes from her bag, one to wipe the lipstick prints from Wyatt's face, and the other to clean the smudged lipstick from her own mouth. When they got downstairs, Isabel and Ashley were already waiting. Leo and Sophie were nowhere to be seen. Wyatt walked over and pulled Isabel aside to whisper, giving you a heads up, Michael might make a move tonight. Isabel blinked. What's he going to do? Not wanting to waste his breath, Wyatt simply took out his phone and showed her the chat history with Michael. Isabel looked, handed the phone back, and said with a smile, even if you hadn't shown me, I would have guessed the idea was yours. The guy's going through all this trouble just to make things official with you. Don't ruin it for him tonight. Relax, I'll pretend I don't know anything. But if he pretends to be drunk, Isabel added, do you think I should take him home? That's up to you. Then how'd I get back? Call Leo and have him pick you up in my car. He won't have anything else to do after he drops off Sophie and Ashley. Works for me. Wyatt laughed. I don't know why, but conspiring with you to trick Michael makes me feel like we're partners in crime. Whatever, Isabel said with a dismissive wave, then pointed to a spot on Wyatt's neck. Where did you and Cece run off to this afternoon to get into trouble? You got a hickey. What? We just kissed a couple of times. I pinched that spot myself on the way over. You're unbelievable. About 10 minutes later, Leo and Sophie arrived. Leo saw everyone waiting and was about to take Sophie's hand to show off, but every time he tried, she would immediately slap his hand away. He tried 3 times and failed each time. The others watching couldn't stop laughing. Haha, those 2 are hilarious. I'm dying. When they finally walked over, Wyatt immediately scolded. Sophie, you're not giving Leo any face at all. You won't even let him hold your hand. Sophie blushed. Hold what hand? There's nothing to hold. Leo could only stand by, scratching his head and smiling sheepishly. Soon after, Michael pulled up. Seeing that everyone was there, he got out of the car and asked, where are we going for dinner tonight? Ms. Isabel is treating, so of course we asked Ms. Isabel. Isabel smiled. Let's vote. Stir fry, hot pot, or K-barbecue. Pick one. Michael shot a look at Wyatt, as if to say, bro, don't pick hot pot. We can't drink if we have hot pot. Wyatt gave Michael a slight nod, a look that said, I've got this. He quickly made a decision. There's a K-barbecue place in the Palisades Center Mall, not far from here. Let's go there. Cece, of course, would go with whatever Wyatt chose. Leo glanced at Sophie first, then also said, I agree. Agree. Okay. Isabel made the final call. K-barbecue it is. Wyatt quickly ushered Leo and Sophie into his car, then deliberately said to Ashley, Ashley, you ride with Michael. You could be their third wheel for once. Ashley, annoyed, gave Wyatt a light kick. Wyatt immediately turned to Cece. What's wrong with you? You saw Ashley was about to kick me, and you didn't even try to block it? Cece pouted. You deserved it. She kicked my butt, and now it's all swollen. What's that got to do with me? It's really swollen. I'll show you tonight. Who wants to see your butt? Get lost. The two cars left the school, one after the other, and headed for the mall. At the K-barbecue restaurant, the 7 of them were led to a private room. Inside was a long rectangular table with 3 large grills, with enough seating for 4 on each side. Wyatt took the menu and started ordering. Across from him, Michael, afraid Wyatt had forgotten their plan, kicked his foot under the table. Wyatt quickly checked off a few items, then cleared his throat and asked, What do you guys want to drink? Anything's fine. Mr. Zhao, how about you? And I have a few drinks tonight. Michael feigned reluctance. I'm a real lightweight. Maybe we should just stick to soda. Wyatt's inner monologue. Keep acting. Just you wait. Isabel's inner monologue. Oh, the drama. You two just keep it up. Leo's inner monologue. And action. Here they go again. The 3 of them. The others, unaware of the scheme, were chatting and laughing. After Wyatt finished ordering, he handed the menu back to the server. Within minutes, a server returned with a 4-tiered cart laden with all sorts of prepped ingredients. They laid down parchment paper on the grills, and the group eagerly started cooking the meat. Seeing that the other 6 had paired off, Ashley suddenly felt like a spare part. At that moment, her desire for a boyfriend reached its peak. Wyatt, ever observant, noticed Ashley sitting there, absently flipping a piece of beef on the grill. He stood up, poured her a glass of beer, and said, Ashley, what's on your mind? You seem a million miles away. Ashley sighed dramatically. I'm just thinking about how much of a third wheel I am. All of you are in pairs, and I'm the only one who's single. Wyatt immediately comforted her. Hey, you're gorgeous. Finding a boyfriend would be a piece of cake for you. Exactly, her roommates chimed in. Ashley hadn't planned on drinking beer, but since Wyatt had already poured it, she picked it up and took a sip. It tasted strange, not quite what she expected. Not great, but not terrible either. A piece of cake, my foot, she grumbled. No one's even asking me out. Where am I supposed to find someone? Wyatt laughed. You don't have to wait for someone to ask you out. If you meet someone you like, you can be proactive, just like how Cece pursued me. Cece's face flushed crimson. She pinched him and muttered, Don't talk nonsense. When did I ever pursue you? Wyatt continued. Haven't you heard the saying? For a guy to win over a girl is like climbing a mountain. For a girl to win over a guy is like crossing a veil of silk. Guys are easy to fool. As long as he doesn't dislike you, you've basically got him. Michael, hearing this, immediately raised his glass. Wyatt, you're absolutely right. I'll drink to that. Huh? Don't just you two drink. Everyone, let's have a toast. Cheers, cheers. The group raised their glasses, and the atmosphere instantly livened up. Ashley, don't worry, Wyatt said. We're only sophomores. The next time I meet a guy as outstanding as me, I'll introduce him to you. Ashley smiled and raised her glass. You better keep your word. No problem, Wyatt laughed. Aren't you all friends because of me? I feel like I could open my own matchmaking service. Haha, you be the perfect matchmaker. The 7 of them chatted happily, and as time passed, the meat and beer dwindled. Wyatt's face didn't flush when he drank, but after just a few glasses, Michael's face was as red as a lobster. Wyatt glanced at the time, decided it was about right, and kicked Michael under the table. Michael looked up and met Wyatt's eyes. Wyatt then made the first move, feigning drunkenness by letting his head loll onto Cece's shoulder. Seeing his cue, Michael first propped his forehead on his hand, then slumped completely onto the table, looking like he had passed out cold. Seeing that it was getting late and both Wyatt and Michael were deep into their performances, Leo figured it was his turn to step in. He cleared his throat and announced, Wyatt and Michael are both wasted. Maybe we should call a night. Yeah. Following Wyatt's script, Leo started giving orders. Sophie, Ashley, I'll take you two back to school first. I'll come back for the others later. Okay. As Ashley stood up, she saw Wyatt and Michael seemingly asleep and asked with concern, "Are they going to be okay like this?" "They'll be fine. There's a hotel right across the street. As for Michael, I'll call him a car service later." With that, Leo led Ashley and Sophie out. Wyatt rested on Cece's shoulder for a few minutes, then began to slur his words. "Water, water." Cece sighed, poured a glass of water, and held it to his lips. After taking 2 sips, Wyatt staggered to his feet. "They're all gone. Let's go back to the hotel." Seeing him swaying as if he could fall at any moment, Cece quickly grabbed her bag, stood up, and supported him. The two of them soon left the restaurant. Now that everyone was gone, Isabel thought to herself, "All right, begin your performance." But Michael just lay there on the table, showing no sign of confessing. "Seriously? They're all gone. Hurry up already." Seeing that Michael was still playing drunk, Isabel was getting exasperated. Finally, she had no choice but to think, "Fine, I'll give you an opening." With that, Isabel placed a hand on Michael's back and began to pat it gently. "Michael? Michael? Are you okay? Water. Give me water." Isabel dutifully poured a glass of water and held it to his lips. After he drank, he plunged his head into her embrace and, fueled by the little alcohol he'd actually consumed, finally mustered the courage. "Isabel, I like you so much. Will you be my girlfriend?" Isabel's almond-shaped eyes narrowed slightly, and a beautiful curve formed on her lips. She whispered back, "Okay." After leaving the restaurant, Cece supported Wyatt as they walked toward the Holiday Inn across the street. They arrived at the front desk. Normally, Wyatt would handle checking in, so Cece said with some embarrassment, "Hi, we'd like a room." Of course, the clerk said promptly, "We have rooms with 2 twin beds, a king bed, or a deluxe suite. Which would you like?" Cece hadn't planned on spending the night at the hotel with Wyatt. Thinking a large bed would be more comfortable for him alone, she quickly replied, "A king bed, please. I'll need to see an ID to check you in." "An ID?" Cece started rummaging through her bag, but after a long search, she remembered she had left her ID in her dorm room drawer. Just as Cece was wondering what to do, Wyatt, who had been dead drunk moments before, suddenly reached into his pocket, pulled out an ID he had prepared earlier, and smoothly handed it to the front desk clerk. The movement was so fluid it was as if it had been rehearsed. "What is happening? Weren't you just drunk?"